Hello, beautiful people. I'm Nikki, and this is our weekly Saturday Horror Live panel, KillerCon, where we have killer conversation. Every Saturday, we are doing our Horror Live panel series. Now, next week's episode will be Friday to accommodate one of our panelists' schedule. But thank you to everyone who is here with us live and everyone here on the replay. We have some great and some of my fave content creators lined up backstage, ready to talk all things horror. Whether you are here on my channel, King Nikki TV, or if you are tuning in from Struggle Reviews TV, thank you, Miss Tyra, for streaming over on your channel. Or if you are here with us from the Fifth Wall channel, thank you, Miss K, for streaming over on your channel. Or however you are here, wherever you're tuning in from, make sure you like the video, get in on the chat. This is why you have to be here live in real time so you can be a part of the discussion. Now, I am ready to talk my second favorite subject. My first favorite subject, of course, being myself. But I am excited to talk horror with the ladies today. And yes, this week, our live panel is our Missy Elliott Left Eye Ladies First Horror panel. We have all women today. In the words of the great Megan Fox, I'm not killing people, I'm killing boys. Let's see what we have going on in the chat before we bring our ladies out. We have My Sweet Perspective. Thank you so much for being here in the live. Maggie J Reviews. Let's go. Let's talk all things horror, guys. Glad to be here and looking forward to the discussion. Like button hit. Thank you so much. Now, let's bring in our ladies. We are having a first-time member, a first-time content creator come to the channel. This is her first time here, so make sure everyone gives her a warm welcome. She talks all things horror on TikTok and have recently come over to the YouTube world. Let's see what Miss Gigi has to say about horror for us today. Hi, Miss Gigi.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Room for Scream, Miss Gigi. Are you ready to talk horror?
I am. I'm so excited. I've actually never done a YouTube live, so this is exciting.
We're popping your cherries.
Yes, exactly.
And next we have our regular friend of the channel, the encyclopedia of horror knowledge. Always got her nose in a book and her glasses on ready. Miss K Blah from the Horror and Hooch podcast, as well as the Fifth Wall. Hey, Miss K.
Hey, I came ready today.
Oh, you came ready today. Stay
Let's
ready.
go.
You gotta get ready.
That's right.
And last but definitely not least, we have another friend to the channel, Miss Tyra from Struggle Reviews TV. Y'all know her name is known in these YouTube streets, okay? She got fans fainting like Michael Jackson, okay? We got Miss Tyra. Hey, Struggle Reviews TV.
Why you gotta do me like that every time? I want the treatment everybody else gets. She always trying to throw me off my game. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. My name is not known out here in these YouTube streets. I'm struggling, hence the name. Support your girl. Thank you for having me, Nikki.
Thank you, and your two lovely ladies for being here, as always, on display for us.
She makes me sick. She really does.
Okay, so let's get into our killer conversation. We have a lot of great topics lined up for everyone. Now, as always, we hear the term horror is back. Horror is back. We discussed this. This is our topic that comes up a lot because there's always the latest movie that has everyone saying horror is back. Last time it was Late Night with the Devil, it was X, it was Barbarian, and now I'm hearing that about The First Omen. And I thought The First Omen was honestly kind of boring. I thought it was way more interesting visually, and the story was pretty dull. Gigi, how do you feel about The First Omen and everyone saying horror is back? Do you think horror is back?
I I don't know. I think it's funny, like, when people say that because I'm like, where did it go? I feel like every year we have at least like a banger. So I'm like, I don't think it's ever gone. And I think also people just look for theater releases as well. I'm like, guys, you got to be looking for these deep cuts too, because that's where the true passion is as well. But I thought the first Omen was pretty good. I didn't love it, but like you said, I loved the visuals in it. I thought that the direction that they were going was absolutely beautiful. They changed up some parts of it, that threw off like the original story just a little, and I was like, I don't know if I like that, but overall, I thought I loved seeing Nell Tiger free. I thought she absolutely killed that role, and her little homage to Possession, that was fun to see.
Yeah, I definitely thought she was great. I will say, I personally think the things they did with the story didn't take away from the original, and some of it was actually kind of interesting. But I mean, that first act, I was just bored out of my mind. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was started pretty slow. What about you, Tyra? How did you feel about the first Omen and everyone saying horror is back? Oh Lord.
You already know. Soon as you bring the nuns out in the horror, I'm leaving. Like I don't care. I'm sick of it. When you try to attach religion in the Catholic Church to horror and the Antichrist, I just don't care anymore. With that being said, the first Omen was not terrible. It did not need to be 2 hours. It was a very padded runtime. From a visual standpoint, I thought it was executed really, really well. And if you can, first of all, I'm sick of them touching on franchises. I don't want to see the first, the last, and everything of the Omen. I'm really over it. But with what they had to work with and how disgusted I am of all things, Damien in the Omen franchise, it was decent enough to hold my attention and keep my interest to go, oh, okay, they are subverting whatever I was expecting here, and they're trying to do something different. And they was working that little slime and demon claw overtime. And if you don't want nobody to get pregnant and have no babies, just say that. I'm good. I don't need any of that. But it's just not, I'm just really over the Catholic Church and horror myself per se. But I wasn't so disappointed that I would say, oh, this is just terrible. You shouldn't watch it. It's worth a watch, but a second one, I'm good on that. And it really should have been an hour and a half.
Yeah, the religious horror, possession horror, it is a well that a lot of people feel have run dry. I actually love it. I like that subcategory. I love possession. I love religious horror. I'm not Catholic, but all the little Catholic traditions and all the little, like how they put it in horror, I love that stuff. Kay, how did you feel about the first Omen and everyone claiming that horror is finally back?
Who said it left? Where are those people? I didn't know horror was gone. But if we're judging the state of horror by this movie, they telling a damn lie. Because now, listen, or maybe it was because my Adderall had done wore off by this time when I was watching it. But is that Leanne from The Servant? And after that, I was just, I don't know. I was not following. It was just too many slow points. I don't know why we had to see her in the club. We could have skipped that whole part. If you just wanted us to know that this was Damien's mom, we could have took that very end portion, tacked it on to another movie, and made like a sequel. We didn't need all of that. 30 minutes of this, and I got the story out of that. Like y'all did a whole lot of, abstract concepts, and I see you had a little budget, to do, some nice things visually, but where was the story? I don't like when movies are too much hallucinating, and I see this, and is it real? And then this is abstract, and I see a visual of this. I need to see more real in this. I didn't know what was real or what was fake. After a while, I just kept zoning out until like the last 15 minutes.
I think I just like the concept of the entire time of her trying to meddle and save somebody else. She really should have been trying to save herself. I was like, okay, that's different. I can get with that at least.
Well, I ain't trust her in the beginning of the movie because after I seen her on The Servant, I said, I know she playing a villain.
Oh yeah, I love her.
I didn't trust her at all.
Yeah, but I totally agree with the club scene. I literally was like, what is the actual point of this scene? Like wrap it up.
Yeah, It was very interesting visually. I like looking at the club scene. But yeah, as far as the story was involved, it just missed so many marks for me. But I will say what I did love. I would watch something from this director again. I just need her to get with a better writer. But what I thought was interesting is we play on y'all know my favorite subject is essay and horror. And people always say, well, it's needed because it's horrific. I feel like when it's done from a female perspective, this was the most like visceral that I feel like pregnancy, body horror, like all that stuff has been depicted. When the woman has that little thing draped over her face and she's like, please don't let him touch me again. Like that was so, I don't know, that kind of, I was like, oh God, like this seems really awful. Like, I don't know. I like the way it was depicted without us having to actually see the demon mating with her. Like that hit a lot more than like, you know, how they usually will depict that in horror movies.
Okay. I give him a point for that. Just get them guns out of my face. I just get them away from me. Please do something else. I don't want to see them no more. I don't.
Now I was confused on that, like the scene when they have that little ceremony. I'm like, do the Catholic Church do this? Why look like she getting married? Like what?
That's what I was finna say. Who is she marrying? They ain't show no groom.
I just wish they would have just tried to stay clear of anything that would make the audience go, oh, this coven is evil. They're up to no good. As soon as she got there, you know, they in a club, they in club attire, not in their habits, the nun smoking cigarettes. I was just like, it's all downhill. We already, you know, can smell the corruption afoot. And it was just, I just think it would have been a lot better if the runtime was down and we would have got a more concise movie. They just really elongated areas that shouldn't have been.
And that's what made a frustrating watch for me. I felt like it was frustrating waiting for the movie to catch up to the fact that it wasn't the little girl in that picture. It was like that was so like I'm like, this is so fucking obvious. Like that kid, oh God, that made for a really, really frustrating watch for me. Now, we know that when it comes to our horror icons, I feel like we kind of have the same conversations. We always talk about Chucky. We always talk about Freddy. We always talk about Ghostface, Jason, Leatherface. But I want to get into some of you ladies' underrated horror icons, the horror icons that we don't really hear mentioned in these conversations. I know a few of my personal faves that I feel like he should have won an Oscar. He should have got a key to the damn city. Clarence Williams as the funeral director in Tales from the Hood. I swear that is one of the greatest, most iconic horror movie performances in general. I also really loved, I don't know if they had a real name, but the girl Princess and her daddy from The Loved Ones.
Lola.
Lola. Okay.
Mhm.
The Collector. I don't know why The Collector did not spawn like a huge franchise with tons of sequels. And look, we're gonna put some respect on Wishmaster and the Djinn. Okay, that is a horror icon that I really love. We're gonna put some respect on the Blob, that little alien blob. Okay, I love that little blob. Rusty Nail from Joyride is one of the few horror villains who actually win in the end that I feel like we never mentioned. Kay, who are some of your favorite underrated horror icons that we don't hear mentioned a lot?
Ooh, I have a few. The little puppet thing from Dead Silence, Pumpkinhead. We need to talk about a little bit more.
Pumpkinhead.
Now I'm stealing my stuff. I ain't gonna have nothing when you get to me.
I know.
What's old boy's name that was in The Fly?
Oh,
Jeff Goldblum. Yes,
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I
his
know he wasn't
character.
just out here just killing willy nilly, but I mean, he did. He need to be placed in there. That movie was creepy and very graphic. I love that movie. We need to throw in. And I know a lot of people ain't seen this movie, but old girl from Death by Temptation, that was a villain they ain't even see coming.
Yes.
And Puppet Master. Why we don't talk about them little puppets? Look, that's all.
Tara, who are some of your underrated horror icons?
Girl, Clarence was at the top of my list and you just stole him like I ain't have him in the waiting room. Hey. Then Kay came to the left with Pumpkinhead, slapped me upside my head. Like, I love Pumpkinhead and his design, and he just doesn't really get mentioned enough. But anything like with a doctor attached, it's a lot of unsung doctors to me. Like the doctor in Reanimator, crazy. The doctor in From Beyond, insane. The doctor in Event Horizon, unsung.
Oh
Lord, love him. What is that guy's name? Oh my gosh, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 dude with the metal plate, the top in his head. What is his name?
Oh, you know that ain't my franchise, honey.
I know.
I don't remember his name.
I think it's Top Shop or Shop Top. The dude who's like sticking the hanger in his brains in Chainsaw Massacre 2. I feel like he is so underrated. I love him like in the best way possible. What is the mother's name? Well, the stepmother, the wicked stepmother in Hellraiser.
Oh, damn, Frank and what's her name? Lisa?
No, it's right here, but I can't think of it.
It was Frank and somebody. I know who you're talking about though, from the first Hellraiser and the second Hellraiser.
Yes. Oh God, I can't believe I forgot her name. But she's unsung. Like she's legitimately the real life villain in that first Hellraiser, and like low key.
Julia.
Yes. Oh Lord, she was terrible. She was terrible, but she's doing, most of the killing in that first film, and we only see Pinhead like for 5 seconds, and he gets all the praise. I love her, and I feel like she should be discussed more too.
You know what? That I love Hellraiser, and I agree. Like people always talk about Pinhead, but they aren't even really the villainous character. Him and his Cenobites aren't really the villainous characters of that movie. It's Julia. Well, and Frank. I think his name was Frank.
Yeah.
But Gigi, who are some of your underrated horror icons?
You honestly kind of listed a lot of them. Like I love the guy in The Collector, which we were actually supposed to get.
A third one.
Yeah, we were supposed to get another Collector. I don't know what happened with that. Also, Ginger from Ginger Snaps. I just love. Lola, The Loved Ones is probably one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I don't know. It's not like I don't necessarily think it's like a 10 out of 10 movie for everybody, but it is to me. And I just absolutely love it. Both her and the guy, and I don't even remember what the guy's name was, but I absolutely love them both. And probably Erin from You're Next. I think that she's an unsung final girl. I think she's starting to get some more praise now, but she's a badass.
Yeah, put Gage in there too.
To get on The Loved Ones. I need more people to get on The Loved Ones. That movie is so good to me. I love that movie.
Same.
I love some really unhinged people.
Stop talking about Chucky and put Baby Gage from Pet Sematary on the list. I love Gage. Put him on there. He collected a few bodies before he got put down.
That is very true. Oh my God, that is so. There's Lil Gage was
no fear.
Did we talk about the parents from The People Under the Stairs? The brother sister.
Oh, great, yeah,
really great.
And never get me. That's why I'm like, we always kind of talk about the same circle of people. They'll say, I'm like, it's so many great villainous horror icons out there. And now it is time for our horror versus game. I need you to be on your shit this time, Tyra. Okay, you better have seen all these movies.
The movies last time. Now, if you got some recent stuff here, you might be out of luck. You know where my decades are.
Yes, if it ain't the 70s or the 80s, throw it all away when it comes to Tyra.
That's so I'm so like the opposite. Like there are so many like 70s and 80s, like I mean, just cult classics that I have been on my watch list. And then I'm like, let me watch this like 1-star movie from 2023. And like it's so I don't know why I'm like this.
I'm seeing Jada Pinkett in Demon Knight. We know her for the final girl, but as far as a villain, nobody ever talks about Billy Zane. Billy Zane was awesome. I love him.
That's another one. That's a good one. Billy Zane in Demon Knight. Yes. He was that Oscar. Look, give him the key to the city, give him the Oscar, give him everything you could give him. That was an amazing performance. He was so. I love an unhinged performance. I love an unhinged performance
yeah.
so bad.
It was fun.
But let's get into our first round in versus. Ladies, pick the one that you would choose, and you tell us why. Kay, Serial Mom versus Death Becomes Her. Our early 90s like comedy horror adjacent movies.
That ain't even no competition. Death Becomes Her. I don't know why I watched this movie so much. You know, maybe TV kept showing it a lot, but Death Becomes Her was definitely in heavy rotation in my house. I love that movie.
Oh wow, no competition. Okay,
Ain't no competition.
Tyra.
All that stuck in my head is like, and now a warning. Now a warning. Like, I love Death Becomes Her. I just recently, I think last year, somebody paid for Serial Mom, and that was my first time watching. And I was like, this is amazing. Why do I not know about Serial Mom and her Pussy Willows? I needed to know about this years ago. Serial Mom is absolutely amazing, but when we get into Goldie Hawn, Meryl Streep, and Bruce Willis, like, it's amazing. Like, it has so much rewatch quality. No matter how old you are, how many times you've seen it, I will watch it 100 times and still be amazed how they keep it together all the way to the end with spackle and spit, and then all fall apart rolling down them funeral steps.
What about you, Gigi?
I have not seen Death Becomes Her. So I know that needs to go on. Well, it is on my watch list. I have not seen it. And I watched Serial Mom before, but it's been years since I've seen it. But since that's the one I watched, I guess I have to pick that one.
I really feel like it's a knife in my gut if somebody hasn't seen. Oh my god! Oh,
I've only seen like clips of it, and I absolutely love like I love the cover of it, and it's so enticing every time I see it. And I'm like, okay, this is the day I'm gonna watch it. And then I'm like, no, I think I'm just gonna watch something else, and I don't know why.
Yeah, this is a hard one. Serial Mom is like close to my heart because it was one of my childhood favorite movies. Me and my cousins and stuff would watch Serial Mom. But Death Becomes Her got me in a chokehold. I would definitely have to. It's just so timeless, so classic. Everything is so perfect from top to bottom. The performances are so iconic. So yeah. Gigi, immediately when we finish this live,
I know.
Like, don't breathe, don't eat, just go watch the movie. Tyra, Urban Legend versus Friday the 13th, the Millennium remake.
Oh, you know how I feel about these movies. Oh.
See, that's why I went to you first, because I know.
You know I'm not a fan. Just because I hated the era of Remake City, I'm going to go with Urban Legend. Like, and Friday the 13th is not a terrible remake. It's actually one of the better ones from that time period. But just because Urban Legend is its own individual thing, Loretta Devine is there. She's Black and she didn't die. I'm going to go with Urban Legend.
You know, that's a final girl nobody ever mentioned, baby. Loretta Devine is technically a final girl. She survived, and she come in the clutch to help save, like, the lead final girl. Gigi, Urban Legend versus Friday the 13th.
I'm going to have to go with Urban Legend. I am honestly not a big Friday the 13th fan. So
I love you.
I'm like, I feel like I'm going to pick everything over anything Friday the 13th. Sorry.
I knew you had some good sense. Hey.
Now, I love me some Jason Voorhees, okay? I watch the marathons every Friday the 13th, but the old ones. I had a problem with this movie, especially the black guy was lame. He was cheesy.
Oh.
Of course, he died. He was whack. He was nobody's favorite character. He was irritating. He bothered me the whole movie to the point that I didn't even want to finish watching it. And I love Jason. So off the strength of that alone, I'm going to pick Urban Legend. And yes, I did love Loretta Devine in this movie. I actually really love the stories in Urban Legends because I actually used to read books about these urban legends. So when it came to like the movie era, I was really excited that they made it into a movie. The sequel wasn't all that, but the original Urban Legend was.
I need to rewatch Urban Legend. I'm just thinking about scenes like Urban Legend had a really dope intro when you have like the killers in the back seat.
Yes.
Again. I really do.
It's so good.
And I feel like that's another underrated horror villain is wasn't she the Clear Cell girl? who played the villain in Urban Legend, when she gets to turn unhinged, she was great and fighting for her man. Okay. I loved her performance, and I guess we got a unanimous winner this time. Urban Legend coming in on top. The Descent versus The Abyss, two horror movies where we are down in darkness. One, we're at the bottom of the ocean. John Carpenter's, I think it was John Carpenter's, The Abyss, and then The Descent, we down in the cave. Gigi.
Oh, I'm The Descent, like always. That's in my top 5 favorite horrors of all time. I love it. I bought like a VHS remake of it too, because I just absolutely adore this movie. I think when you think claustrophobic, you think The Descent. So great. Water also scares me too much, so I'm just like, any water movie I love to watch, but then I'm like, no, not for me.
And that's actually creepier to me than a cave. I have like a serious fear of the ocean. I'd rather be in a cave, I'm gonna be honest. Kay.
Yeah, because see, I'm not doing that water stuff. And I love me some shark movies and whatnot. But the Abyss was like forgettable. Like nobody even talks about The Abyss. But The Descent, that's rewatchable. That's one that if I see it on TV or if I'm in the spirit, I'll rewatch that one. Nobody's rewatching The Abyss.
What now? Why is The Abyss catching all these strays? Not
So one and done.
What? Oh my Lord!
Never liked The Abyss.
What?
I never cared for
Everybody
The
be off
Abyss.
the panel right now.
It was a one-time watch for me, and I was like, that was that, and I never watched it again. It was never anything I wanted. There, some tangible things there, but I just feel like with The Abyss, I've seen The Abyss executed better somewhere else, so it's just not anything from now. The Descent, honey, I will watch that any given year. Just the monsters alone and the budget that they had, the monsters look really, really good. The creature effect there was great. And I love that we didn't just keep the villainy to the monsters. You had a little trash best friend who was sleeping with her husband. Oh, it was terrible. Mary Fisher lives by in a castle by the sea, and she stole my man. She had stole that lady man who was in that cave acting like she didn't do nothing out of guilt. I love that. The Descent is just really good, and I just can't say I ever revisited The Abyss after the one time I watched it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That lady did make me mad when she said we all lost something in that crash. Like, bitch, you was cheating with your friend husband. What do you mean we all lost something in the crash? You what? That took me out.
That's what, I like a little drama sometimes.
Yeah.
Give me a little drama.
But I don't think she should have been blamed for killing old girl, because why would you sneak up on somebody who's like in a heightened state that just finished fighting for their life? Like, girl, say something, speak up. Like, mom's the word. Like, what are you doing? That never makes sense to me. Poltergeist versus The Exorcist, Miss K.
The Exorcist is one of those movies that kind of scared me growing up, so I'm gonna have to go to the Poltergeist. Because Carol Ann, that's classic. I will rewatch the Poltergeist any day. I'm not watching that scene of the Exorcist. It's just one of those images that I'm not watching at night. The Poltergeist, I'm good with.
Now, Tyra, I know you all about your old school horror, and I cannot verse anything new against old. So old against old, classic against classic. Which one coming out on top?
Oh, child, there's no competition. It's The Exorcist. It is The Exorcist, and I really do enjoy the Poltergeist. It's a really great horror film, but The Exorcist was groundbreaking. This is religion, nuns, them priests in them. It's done right here. This was the first for a reason, and everything is just paling in comparison to this film. Like, it is so good. I don't care what comes out. This, The Exorcist 3 is my buddy too, but this is a really well executed. If you want to entice someone with religion, demonic possession, this is what it is. I will love this down forever in comparison to what was our little time? What was the hell? The first No. No. I hate the fact that nobody has been able to touch this film. Like, and it's hard, but I haven't seen one religion horror that is just like, oh, okay, it's up to par with something like The Exorcist. This was amazing. Everything is just like, oh, we took off bits and pieces, especially in the possession realm of something like The Exorcist, and we just can't seem to do anything different with it. This is amazing. The score was great, the lighting, the priest in the end, you know, taking it into him and going down. It's just so good. It's so good. And they see Reagan through hell. Like, that lady's back is messed up for life from this freaking movie. Like, it's the number one for a reason, and it still holds up no matter how many times you watch it.
Gigi.
I love the Poltergeist and all the story and the lore and everything behind it, but it's The Exorcist, like, without a doubt. That's probably one of my most rewatched movies. It has a special place in my heart, and so I will always pick it.
Am I the only person that really likes Exorcist the beginning?
Wait, is that the one that just came out?
Sorry.
Like the new one?
The prequel? No, not the one last year. What was the prequel? Wasn't the prequel called Exorcist the beginning that followed the priest when he was younger? I'm the only person that likes the Exorcist prequel.
You were alone,
I guess
honey.
so, because I don't even know what that is.
Oh wow! You have to go watch that too. They made a Exorcist prequel. I was it like the early 2000s or mid 2000s.
I was not
Don't
a fan.
listen to the hater Tyra. It's really good.
I am excited for Mike Flanagan's reimagining or whatever he's going to do with the Exorcist universe, because I think that if there is somebody that can bring something to the table with an iconic franchise like The Exorcist, I think we're in good hands with him.
Oh, child. I love that comment from Dominic. He's talking about the Poltergeist 2. Now, when that little man come knocking on that door, like, I actually can mess with the Poltergeist 2. Like, it's just something about that little old man. You know, he sends something down my back, like that man from, is it called Fatimas? That one, the little old people. You know, they be on my neck sometimes. The old man, the Indian burial ground, of all of them in the Poltergeist 2. It's a little spooky. It does something for me.
Now, Kay, don't hide in the shadows. You like Exorcist believer?
Yeah, lighting the comment.
I did.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I thought we were friends. I thought I knew you, Kay, this whole time.
It was good to me.
Now, I gotta kind of be with Kay. I didn't think it was as horrible. Like, people made it seem like it was the worst movie in the history of It was not that. I've seen worse.
It's the thing. It wasn't scary. It was just a good movie. It wasn't horror. It didn't scare me or jump out, none of that. But I really feel like it was a good story about a father and raising his daughter. Honestly, just like I liked their story aspect of it.
It was tad. It was tad.
I actually thought it was pretty good, and it would have been great if we did not include Reagan mom in it. I didn't think we needed that. If we would have just focused on the two girls, their families, and that little thing at the end where the devil is like, pick which girl. I thought that stuff was actually pretty good.
I like that.
Nope.
I didn't mind it. I think if they removed it from like the Exorcist world and didn't have that like looming over it, I think people would have appreciated it more. Because especially in the first half of the movie, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. I'm like, am I going to be the only person that like really loves this? And the second half, it dropped off for me, but it really wasn't as I was thinking it was going to be like the worst movie ever made by the time I came around to watching it. And I was like, this is not that bad.
Nope.
Yeah.
I dare you disrespect Ellen Burstyn. Get out of my face. Leave forever. No, not. The Tired film, it was terrible. I've never watched it again. It was just sad. Like all them in the room with their religions. Like get this crap out of my face. I hate it.
You don't like possession in general, Tyra. So you know you're coming in with a bias. Is that when the priest was in the desert? Yes, The Exorcist prequel is when the priest was in the desert. And it is a great movie, and no slander will prosper. Okay, I love a horror prequel. They get a bad rap, but horror prequels are good. Now we get into our foreign horror, The Wailing versus A Tale of Two Sisters. Now Tyra don't like nothing that ain't the 70s or 80s, but she'll get down with some Asian horror. So which one you got coming out on top, Tyra?
Oh, girl, The Wailing. It's long. The Wailing is real thick in the length, but it's so good. It's so worth it. this was like my first tiptoe over there into just that Japanese horror territory. And I was like, okay, I'm staying forever. It's amazing. I love this film and I have seen it several times. It's one of those movies where every time you watch it, you discover something new about it. And it's really, really like subtle with its scares and just the writing and the execution of just the film and the storytelling and how we ended up from beginning to end. And I just didn't know what to expect and where we were going. It's an amazing film. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, you're messing up. Oh yeah, the Tale of Two Sisters. They over there. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Wailing.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a Tale of Two Sisters. I'm a sucker for a plot twist, and I really like the twist that happened in that movie. So just off the strength, even the Wailing was straight, but just off, you hit me with a plot twist that I didn't really see coming, and that you go ahead and move to the top of the list with that one.
Yeah, I definitely love a well executed twist. Gigi.
I totally agree. Like, I love a good plot twist, but I just have to go with The Wailing. I think everything about it was just gorgeous. Like, it's not only just a beautiful, gorgeously like shot movie, but like how what they did with the storyline and like how the dad got involved, and I just thought it was great. And it's creepy and it has this like dreariness to it. If a movie is like dreary and like cold feeling, I love that.
I do love a really depressive, like down.
No, literally. I'm like, if it's gonna make me feel sad, top of the list.
I just love that. I was really like shook it. It was a man with some scaly skin and some red contacts, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like
Yes.
it was so subtle and it was so terrifying. Like I was really shook. And it takes a lot of movies now have, overkill, or we have to do like so much. Like no, with
Yes.
the storytelling and the fear that was layered to this entity, it didn't take much. I was like, oh my goodness, it's over. He got you.
The Omen versus Doctor Sleep. Gigi.
Ooh.
Oh, this is actually kind of hard because I do love both films. And I think what Mike Flanagan did with Doctor Sleep was fantastic. But I do love, I quote The Omen, it's all for you literally every day. And again, it just has a special place in my heart. And I think it's like inspired so many films after it with like the elements that it has. I'm gonna have to go with The Omen, and it's fucking cursed, so that's scary.
Okay.
I mean, I watched I feel like The Omen they're not movies that I just want to keep like rewatching. I don't know why. It's just like I watch it, I get the whole thing, and it's a classic. But I'm gonna have to go with Doctor Sleep because this movie is so underrated. It was very well executed, and it's a movie that I would revisit and watch again. I really love, and not all sequels are good sometimes, especially in the horror genre. But this sequel, it told its own story, but with a purpose. And I like how I like where they went with it. And I like the characters in this. And sometimes I just don't even like the characters in some movies. But I was invested in the characters in Doctor Sleep.
Tyra.
First of all, The Omen started my hatred for evil kids and antichrist kids. Like, The Omen is where it all started from when I was like, and first of all, that first Omen really tried it with that "it's all for you" Damien scene. Like, oh, we gonna make it different. She gonna sell us.
Oh yeah.
Like, get that out of my face. I've tried with The Omen. It's okay. I have no stock in evil children smiling at the camera. I never have. Evil dark-haired children smiling at the camera. It's never done anything for me. I just don't care about that. Now, the kills in The Omen are really good, especially for the time. The way that they execute it, I don't know what scene that is in the movie, but a head gets chopped off. I haven't seen the original Omen in quite some time, but it still looks flawless no matter how old it is and whenever you watch it. The kills are really, really good in The Omen, but I don't care. Dr. Sleep was great. Dr. Sleep was great. Speaking of underrated villains, Rose the Hat was great.
Oh, flawless.
Rose the Hat was great. I can't speak for our girl at the top of the panel, but I love The Shining. I love The Shining, Nikki. It is one of my faves. So the fact that they could roll up 30 plus years later, what? And execute this film to this like high capability. I don't know why it was overlooked. It's amazing from start to finish, and it really gives you a full sense of completion. And not a lot of sequels can do that, especially so far removed from the original. And it's beautiful. That scene of Rose the Hat like floating or whatever, like the dream sequences where they're like it looks amazing. The writing is amazing. It came full circle. I love when we got not the more so lookalikes, but they found a way to capture the essence of Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, and we had new characters. It was perfect to me. So I would pick that any day over It's All for You, Damien, and The Smurf. No.
Oh Lord. Yeah, as somebody who does not think the 70s and 80s was the best era of horror, I actually really love The Omen, the original Omen. That husband was terrible. I just think it's just I don't know, it's a great movie. I think Dr. Sleep had a lot going against it. First of all, you're going after a classic in most people's eyes. You're following it up so many years later. People already I feel like it's kind of like the Thing prequel that came out. I feel like the second people hear your movie is attached to a classic, they're already kind of not really on board. But Dr. Sleep, and I remember when it came out, I think it was when they was like first putting the movies on streaming for like $20 because the whole, the demic hit. But I'm not a fan of The Shining. I don't really like that movie, but I thought Dr. Sleep was so good. And what I thought it did well, I really don't like an unlikable protagonist, but they did an unlikable protagonist in the best way when he leaves that damn poor little baby, and like he did some really abhorrent, like horrid actions, but you still feel for him and root for him as a character. And I think that's pretty hard to pull off. And we don't talk about Abra. Abra is our Black final girl. She had all the magic, all the shining. She tripped up Rose the Hat. Okay, yeah, we need to give Abra her just due. Dead Alive versus The Frighteners. Y'all know my least favorite horror is comedy horror, but it's some gems out there. Okay, Dead Alive versus The Frighteners.
The Frighteners every time. Every time. I rewatch that movie all the time. So I'm always gonna go with The Frighteners on this one. Frighteners all day.
Gigi.
This is blasphemy. I haven't seen either because every time I like see, I'm just like, doesn't interest me. So like and I know that it has like a cult following, but I'm like, nah, just I don't know. I'm kind of the same way. Like these, when they're too, I don't know, like animated or just, I don't know, big, I'm like, no, I'd rather just have something a little slower. I don't know.
You know what? I don't blame you, Gigi. I really don't like comedy horror. And especially when it's like the really like slapstick, really jokey type of comedy. But I think these two are gems. But I honestly don't think you're missing much. But I would say Frighteners is pretty freaking terrific. Tyra?
Oh, child, it's Frighteners. Even though the film is good, I have a special bias towards Michael J. Fox. I love me some little Michael J. Fox, so it's going to be... And we have Dee Wallace. Anytime I love me some Dee Wallace, she is like horror gold, and she's here, and we're getting into just that tag team. Even though it's I guess a horror comedy, like just the execution of the film and from beginning to end and how the story unravels, I thought it was pretty entertaining and funny at the same time. But little Michael J. Fox for the win every time. I love you, Michael.
Yeah, I definitely think Frighteners did, because that's one of my issues with comedy horror is I feel like typically they play up the comedy a little more than the horror. But I think Frighteners actually had a really great balance in the story where stuff was comedic, but then you actually had a heart to the story and there was actually some like really frightening moments. I think they actually did a really great mixed with the Frighteners. And they don't remake the Frighteners now, Hollywood. Now leave the Frighteners alone. Now I be riding for Hollywood remakes, but let's leave Frighteners alone. Aliens versus Terminator 2, which aren't horror movies, at least not Terminator 2, but I wanted to put classic sequel versus classic sequel. Gigi.
Okay, this one is actually kind of hard. Terminator 2 was randomly on the TV the other day, and I was like sucked in, but I don't know. I might. You know, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Terminator 2. I think that that's a weird pick, but I was like locked in.
I don't think it's a weird pick. Tyra?
Child, Terminator 2 Judgment Day is in my top 5 for action movies of all time. It is flawless, in my opinion. Like, first of all, I love the first Terminator, just period. But, like, it's perfect. There is nothing wrong. I can't think of one thing wrong with Terminator 2. It's my favorite film. I know Cameron gets all his praise for Avatar. They can go where it is. It will always be Terminator 2 for me. Aliens over there. Terminator, it's flawless to me. I love it. Like, I rewatch that one a couple times a year, honestly. It's amazing.
Okay.
Because we're in the, if we look at it from a horror standpoint, I'm gonna go with Aliens because I mean that just the image of the creature in the movie was kind of terrifying in itself. And I look at the Terminator as an action movie. So yes, that very great action movie. I put that in the category with like, because during that era when we had all of our action hero stars. So in my mind, that's the action movie. So I'm gonna go with Aliens for this one.
Okay, you can't tell me the T-1000 wasn't terrifying, girl. He was scary. He was scary to me. Like, are there no limits to what you can do? Like,
I think because I'm afraid of aliens. That might be why.
Because I see so many lists. Terminator 2 is never on the list, but I've seen horror lists with Terminator on it. And I'm like, if we're going to put that one there, this one belongs there too. The T-1000 to me is such a horror villain in my eyes, and it's just that sense of just being unstoppable, and you just don't know where it's going to go and how it's going to end and who's going to live and who isn't. If that's not horror, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
I'm more afraid of the alien looking thing. That's more terrifying. Okay, because we don't know what they do when they own planets and them little egg things that be coming. No, that is way more terrifying and gross.
Now, I don't really agree when people get into the genre semantics and they're like, no, that's not horror. I think horror is, you have horror elements in tons of movies. And I think that a lot of movies can have a bunch of different genres. I will say I consider the first Terminator to be way more horror slasher in as far as not just the story with the, killers stalking them, but also just the vibe, the atmosphere of that movie, how it's shot, the way it looks. It feels dark. It feels like a slasher. Terminator 2, yes, you still have a relentless killer stalking them, but the way that they shot that movie, the way it looks, the whole atmosphere and visuals, that definitely gives me way more action than the first Terminator gives me way more horror, dark, noir, slasher type of vibe. So I would say, Tyra, that's why I personally think you probably see Terminator talked about in horror spaces over Terminator 2, because the whole feel of 2 is just very much straight horror. I'm not horror, sorry, straight action sci-fi.
I can see that. We had a lot of explosions in Terminator 2. I love every single ounce of every shotgun explosion and 18-wheeler. It's everything. But yeah, we got hella explosions. Yes.
And our best John Connor of all the movies. I love that kid. And now for our horror TV series, The Strain versus The Walking Dead. Gigi.
I never watched The Strain, and so I have no. What is it even about? It looks like
it's about. And you know what? Weren't you the one who said you like Guillermo del Toro? He did The Strain.
Oh yeah,
yes. The vampires look like the vampires from Blade 2.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's like ancient vampires, and they have like a little conspiracy plot to take over the world. It's actually really great.
Yeah,
I do love The Walking Dead, though. I mean, I think it went on far longer than it needed to, but those first couple of seasons were just they took over the world. I still love it.
Tyra.
Oh, baby, The Walking Dead. I like The Strain. I did. I did. It was one that I wanted to see continue a lot longer than it did. But I'm just thinking of The Walking Dead and the impact of that moment when like time stopped when he shot Shane and Shane got back up and he was a zombie. It's like, oh my goodness. Or, them in search for that little girl and she was in that barn. There was some really impactful moments, us losing main characters, the huzzy of a wife. Well, she thought he was gone, but that's not the point. Giving birth and all of that. It was that just, Carl, I would never forget Carl's name. It is etched into my mind for the rest of my life just because we had him running around screaming Carl's name. It was really good. It was good for what it was until it wasn't. it went on way past expiration date, but seasons 1 at least through I'm gonna say 4, solid as hell. Really 5. I can throw 5 in there. It's really solid, and it's something that I could go back and rewatch right now.
Yeah, I stopped watching The Walking Dead when, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, mute for like 5 seconds. I stopped watching The Walking Dead when Glenn died, but I literally can vividly remember. I remember when the show was just talked about, like before it even aired. I remember, if I remember correctly, it came on Sundays. Me and my mother watching it every Sunday, and I will never forget the way like our jaws dropped when Carol daughter came out that
the barn.
Like, I mean, I would say that is like top 5 surprising, like jaw-dropping TV moments ever. What about you, Kay?
I mean, I like The Strain because I love Guillermo del Toro. I loved what he did with Blade 2, so I was a fan of this show. But let me tell you something: The Walking Dead,
look at the flowers.
For life. For life. I watched the whole thing all the way through. Now, mind you, my favorite seasons were 2 and 5. So I love seasons 2 and 5, but The Ones Who Live spinoff was amazing. I can't wait to see Daryl and Carol spinoff. I am here for the whole Walking Dead universe. I went to Walker Stalker Con twice, okay? This is my family. I'm going to choose The Walking Dead over anything, period. I love Shane. We can argue about that one later.
No, hold on, Kay. Okay, you better calm down and sit down because that's my man. Okay,
look, I argue people down about that one.
And that's crazy. We only got Shane for like 5 minutes in the series, and his character goes on in infamy with the series.
I know.
He was that great.
And he actually, the actor, I'm so mad I can't think of his name, but he actually had a show. Yeah, there you go, John Berthenel. He had a show when he got cut from The Walking Dead called Mob City. It was actually a really good show, and it didn't even last like a season. I don't know what happened with that, but I love.
He went over to be the Punisher, and I followed him right on over there.
I love him. Oh God, I love Shane so much. It's not even funny.
Correct.
Saul versus Cube. K.
Oh, the Saul got to take this. Not that the Cube wasn't good. I mean, that's a good watchable movie right there. I mess with that. But Saul, when Buddy stood up at the very, very end of the movie after he was laying there the whole time, when I say for a plot twist, that threw me. That's all I needed to say. Okay, I'm gonna follow Jigsaw just off of that part right there. I'm gonna follow you wherever you go after this.
Gigi.
Oh, Saw. I have so much love for this franchise. Even like the shitty bad ones that everybody hates. I'm still like Spiral, and I'm like, nah, I still liked that one. I love all of them.
Tyra. I didn't think Spiral was terrible, actually. Tyra.
Okay. Cube is like really underrated to me. It's never mentioned in the conversation enough, in my opinion, for what it is. It actually is really entertaining and has some really like great kills. But with that being said, I'm gonna go with Saw. I'm gonna go with Saw. Like it was like nobody ever expected that man to be in that room the whole time and get up off of that floor. It was just like, you've been here the whole time. And I'm, one of those ones, like, I can't stand the Saw franchise with a passion. I feel like it should have started and stopped at this one film, and that should have just been all she wrote. Like,
What, the
it was
trilogy, Tara? The trilogy? Oh my God.
no. That was supposed to be saved for, them horror opinions that get you stomped out. But no, since you got it here, I am one of those ones. I do not like the Saw franchise. And I just feel like it sullied what this was, and everything else paled in comparison. I just didn't care for it. But this was really, really good. It is. It is.
I'm with Gigi. I'm here for the Saw franchise because Jigsaw be out here doing the Lord's work. Like, who else gonna punish some of these criminal activities with these people? These some bad people. Like,
if you literally jaywalk, you're going to end up in a Saw trap. No.
And I think that they're like the way that they connected them, and like even within the movie, like the way that he connects everything, I'm like, this is so brilliant to me. I'm just like, I would have never, like, I was like blown away on each one of them, like, whoa. And I don't think it was that hard to like piece together, but for some reason I was like, this is crazy how they did it. So I love it.
I love the Saw trilogy. I love Saw 1 through 3. I cannot stand Hoffman. If I see that actor in real life, I might smack him. Like, I could not stand Hoffman, and that we centered the movies around him. But I actually feel like Cube 1 and 2 can rival Saw 1 and 2. I think Cube is actually really original. Like Tyra said, great kills, a great cast. I feel like that movie is actually 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I don't see much wrong with Cube. I would lean towards Cube. And I love Saw. The trilogy. I have a great love for the Saw trilogy. But I really love Cube. And I can vividly remember seeing Cube as a kid and just like never heard of it, didn't hear anything about it, just randomly watched it. And it became one of my favorite movies. But Death to Hoffman, I can't stand Hoffman. Oh, I can't.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know why they centered the movies around Hoffman. And I hope they're not finna do that with this new lady in the new little Saw prequel thingy. But The Conjuring versus The Others. Are you mad? I am your daughter. Kay.
Now, I love the Conjuring franchise. I will watch all those movies. Like, I'm here for it. I mean, some of the couple of the Annabelles was just where they were supposed to be. But I'm gonna watch all the Conjuring movies in the franchise. Whatever y'all come out with, I'm gonna be there 10 toes down. But again, a plot twist in The Others. That's all you got to do is flip it on me in the end, and that's it. I'm gonna have to go with The Others on that one.
Tyra. I know you don't really do possession, Chad.
I'm like, oh, the lesser of two evils, huh?
Like you didn't think The Others was really good? Now I would think The Others would be up your alley.
The others was cool. It's not something that I go back to all the time. Like, it's the, where's my, I am your daughter. We love those moments. It's just, and I love the twist in the end, and also the situation with the husband and because you really didn't know when it was just like, oh, my kids can't go outside in the sunlight. It's just like, what's going on? So it was really in the first time you see it, it's like, oh my goodness, I really didn't expect that. So if I had to go with one, it would be The Others. But The Conjuring is actually one of the more recent movies that I enjoy. And once again, I feel like it should have stopped and started here. It should have stopped right here. And we kept milking it, and it just dilutes my feelings with the franchise. And sometimes I'll loop The Conjuring in. But The Conjuring is executed really, really well. But I'm going to go with The Others.
You hate a sequel, Tyra. What about you, Faye?
I have to go with I love The Others, and I like vividly remember watching it and being so blown away by the twist. Correct. But I love The Conjuring too, and I also remember watching that. I just think I have to pick The Conjuring because of its watchability, like rewatchability. With The Others, I feel like you can't really rewatch that and it hit the same, or like you enjoy it the same. So I have to go with The Conjuring, even though I do agree with Tyra. I hate the Conjuring franchise. I think that they should have stopped here. But I do love this one.
Right. Yeah, that little hide and go seek game gonna be creepy every time.
Yeah.
Giving them claps.
That is one knock against The Others. The Others for me is, I really was blown away the first time I saw it, but I think it's one of those movies that kind of loses the sting once you know the twist. It just that the rewatching it doesn't hit the same. And I will say for The Conjuring, I unfortunately have always been that like audience who's like, okay, when's somebody gonna die? Can we get some blood and guts? Can we? And I will never forget watching The Conjuring and getting to the third act and being like, wait, nobody even died in this movie, and I love it. It is very hard for me to love a movie and don't nobody die. You don't give me no blood and mayhem. But The Conjuring was executed so brilliantly on just like, for me, just the basics of horror without the bells and whistles of horror. I feel like it worked really, really well. Yeah, oh, but the others is very classic to me. But yeah, I agree with Gigi as far as rewatching it.
Speaking of that, did you finish American Psycho like I asked you to?
Now the I saw American Psycho for 10 minutes. I was bored out of my mind and I cut it off. And he stomped out a dog and I said, oh hell no, I'm out of here. But
Yeah.
I was bored. Why was I couldn't do. I was so bored.
You didn't even see, and I suffered through the first Omen for you. It's fine. I see what this relationship is. It's fine.
Like,
It's
he
cool.
was in there talking about his face. I feel like I was watching a YouTube girl like
To
beauty
watch
routine.
it. You have to watch it. It unfolds. Like, you didn't even give it enough time to cook.
I gave it 10 minutes. We ain't simmering yet.
I gave the Omen 2 hours I'll never get back. The first Omen. Please. It's fine.
Now, if there is one horror subgenre I would throw away, it would be found footage. I freaking hate found footage. And I remember that block of time in, I think it was like the mid 2000s. Every movie was found footage, and I just about died. But two of the classics that I hear people talk about are the Blair Witch Project, and I remember seeing Cloverfield in theaters, and I wanted to walk out. I hated that movie. But Kay, the Blair Witch Project versus Cloverfield.
Now, I'm with you with like that Cloverfield. I actually liked 10 Cloverfield Lane and that and the Cloverfield Paradox.
Oh, I love Cloverfield Paradox.
Like the sequels, I mess with the sequels. This movie I wasn't feeling, but the two sequels after were very good. So I'm gonna have to go with the Blair Witch Project. Just on the strength of they had me scared thinking something was really gonna happen. I was scared because they made me scared. Now I don't even remember what happened that we really had to be scared about the whole time. But just off the strength of their anxiety, I was like, okay, something trying to get us. So I was a little afraid too of what I have no idea.
Gigi.
This one's hard. I love found footage. Even though I love them, even though half of them I like end up hating them. But I love Cloverfield. It did make me motion sick the first time I watched it, but I think it does really well with like the tension and like anxiety building. But the Blair Witch Project, I'm gonna have to go with that. Just solely based on one, they did something that no other it can never be recreated, where like people thought it was real and it was like scaring the shit out of people. But also just on the principle that they like had no budget, they had no script. This was all just them. They used their real names. It's just like they just went in the woods and shot a movie, and it was like the highest grossing movie ever. And I'm just like, props to you. And it just sparked a whole subgenre. So I have to go with Blair Witch.
If I remember correctly, wasn't this the movie where they had the actors going to hiding or something for like a year so people could really buy into it being real? Wasn't it this one?
I have no idea if they went into like hiding, but I think it's crazy that they didn't have any like script, and they would just like leave them in the woods. They'd be like, okay, this is kind of what the scene is going to be, and you're just going to stay in the woods overnight. And I'm like, that's fucking terrifying.
Just improv. What about you, Tyra?
Oh, what Gigi said. Everything Gigi said. And I'm with Kay in the Cloverfield franchise. My favorite is 10 Cloverfield Lane. And I was like, how do we get from that to this? I'm glad we got here, but this is so much better.
Yeah.
And, we had Dan there. Dan, Roseanne's man. I loved it. I love when he gets to be a villain. He's a really great villain. But the Blair Witch Project, and just that thought, because I remember, I think they had just turned 10, and it was a big thing. Like everybody had become like some investigative journalists trying to figure out where these people are. was this real? Did this really happen? Like everybody was so freaking invested and just so like, I'm so freaking scared and all that. In the just the aspect of them turning like something into nothing and everybody's heart pounding because somebody was left in a corner. It was insane. Like everybody was truly invested in this for like before it came out and after it came out, just trying to piece together, did this really happen? We're like, nothing's ever gonna do this again. And I think it was groundbreaking. Now the found footage franchise, ciao. Put that next to The Possession. But this was the first for a reason.
I'm with you, Gigi. I love a good found footage movie.
There
Okay.
you go. I was like, someone's got to love it.
Stephen King versus Stephen King. Gigi.
Oh, this one's hard. Oh, because I love like the bloodiness of Carrie, but honestly, I'm gonna have to go with Misery again. If it's like a dreary, like dark and stormy night, or like a cold, wintry setting, I gotta pick that. Plus, I mean, this is freaking Kathy Bates's like this is her best role ever. She did so great in this.
Okay.
I can't even choose here because both of these movies had scenes that are pretty much standouts in my life. The scene where Kathy Bates knocked his feet, that I was scarred from that. And the very end of Carrie when she popped that hand out of the grave, okay, that scared me. I don't know, I shouldn't have been watching that too young. But these are iconic movies with terrifying scenes. You know, I can't choose with these two. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to think about it.
Tyra.
They're gonna see your dirty pillows. They're pressed, mama. They're pressed. Like I'm gonna go with Carrie. I love Misery. Like Kathy Bates was something to fear, and it's the subtlety and the craziness of her villain, like the passion that she had for those books and the things that she was willing to do to keep that man close is crazy. But Carrie is, talk about underrated villains. Carrie's mother, like I think people focus on Carrie as the villain because Carrie is the one that uses that telekinesis to put the hammer down on everybody at that prom. But prior to that, Carrie's mother is scary as hell. Like Carrie's mother and that little figurine of Jesus will shake me.
Laugh at you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like you gotta put her in the closet with that little Jesus. I hate it. But just I just a few months back I just rewatched Carrie just because, and I was like, this is so good. This is so good. I still go up for, you know, the slow singing flower bringing at the end, and it's all white and ethereal, like and then that hand pops out like
that's
it's
the
so good. It's just really good. I love Misery, but if I had to choose, Carrie for the win every single time, and the young Sissy Spacek, amazing. Oh girl, you tried it with this. Why would you do this?
Okay, it's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy.
Why would you do this?
Okay, Hereditary versus American Psycho.
I love freaking Christian Bale. Okay, if there was any other movie besides Hereditary, I'm gonna go with Christian Bale every time, every single time. But but Hereditary, that scene in the car and the mom going in the room the next morning, I was just like, I had to pause the movie for a second. Like, wait, what? Let me run it back and actually see what took place. Just off of that scene right there alone, I'm gonna have to give it to Hereditary.
Gigi.
This one is kind of hard. I absolutely love the iconicness of American Psycho. I love Christian Bale. And the first time that I watched Hereditary, I did not have the love for it because I watched it like after the hype happened. So like I was expecting like I just had it so overblown in my head that when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay. But I recently rewatched it in IMAX, and then I watched this like hour and a half long breakdown video on YouTube, and I was like, this is the smartest movie ever written. The depth that they went into with this, Hereditary. Hands down.
Tyra.
Now, Hereditary, when the happening happened with the mom, and she's like consistently bashing her head into that wall because she's fully like it's great. When oh my God, when she throws that those thoughts, that journal in the fire, and the husband gets ablaze, like with that being said, it's American Psycho. American. Hey, Paul, like, I gotta return some videotapes. Are you freaking kidding me? This is one of my favorite horror films, like, period. Christian Bale is amazing. This is what got me into him just as an actor. And I was like, I don't care what he's in, I'm going to watch it. It's a slow burn, Ashley. But the payoff with American Psycho is worth it. You just leave questioning every time what was real, what wasn't. Did he murder these people? Didn't he? I love the fact that it's directed by a woman. It's just really, it's good. And when it gets bloody and he loses his minds, you know, the prostitutes, you know, the sex scene where he was doing the Dougie, getting his wife in the mirror.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
That scene is iconic.
I love it. Him, you know, running naked with that chainsaw. Like, it's just so good at, you know, just how depraved he is in his mental state. And you just see, or just the thoughts that he's just constantly looking busy and jotting down things in that sick, perverse little notebook. And you got little Reese Witherspoon over there. That's all this 80s decadent, and just it just speaks to the time in the culture, in the excess of not only the 80s, but just the meticulousness of him obsessing over something like a business card. Like, stuff is just really iconic from this movie. I like, you know, Hereditary for what it was. It's a really good film also, but American Psycho, period.
Yeah. Anybody familiar with my channel know I will DNF real quick. Do not finish. I didn't finish Hereditary. I didn't finish American Psycho. I will finish them one day, maybe, kinda. I don't know. In the Mouth of Madness versus the Void. K.
I'm gonna go with The Void because this movie was just silly, and it's like, I don't know why I put The Void in the category of this movie is so unserious. The Mouth of Madness, I wouldn't recommend that movie. I guess I don't know a whole bunch of people who would like be into that movie. But you can watch The Void and just be like, this movie is so unserious.
Gigi.
I honestly am gonna have the Void is very unserious, but I'm gonna have to go with In the Mouth of Madness just because of Sam Neill. I love him, even in the movies that I am not a Possession, like the movie Possession, and that is a cult classic. I'm not Possession fan, but I powered through it because I was like, Sam Neill, he's my boy. I gotta watch it, so I'm gonna pick that one.
Tyra.
Man, I need y'all to attach $1 to these comments so we can see your comments. I see you, Miriam, saying we need to break down American Psycho. It's not too much I haven't broken down on the channel. It's an American Psycho somewhere in all those 500 videos. Go find it, Miriam. The Void. I was so surprised at The Void. I went in expecting nothing.
Correct.
I went in expecting nothing. And it was just one of those, like, oh, I'm just going to randomly throw this random movie. I was like, what? What? I am a sucker for gore, carnage, and body horror and practical effects. I was like, oh boy, we're here. I'm happy I'm here. It reminded me of the silliness, me in my 80s. I was like, oh, we're back in the 80s. We're in the 80s. We're in the 80s. It's foolishness happening for no reason, and I love it. Like, it was so different and unexpected. It made me feel the way I felt the first time I watched something like VHS. I was like, what is this? What is happening? Like, where are we going? And I love that too often with movies now. And I love In the Mouth of Madness, but just the fact that The Void isn't all that, old, because my decades, and it grasped my, it's probably because it was reminiscent of my decade, but that's not the point. That's not the point. I really was kind of blown away by The Void and what they were able to do with the smaller budget and just the way the story went. I was like, I have no clue where we're going or why, but I'm going to stay here until we get there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if y'all meant unserious in a good or bad way. I love The Void. Like, I am so obsessed with that movie. Like, the whole, like, isn't it like cosmic horror, body horror, like freaking horror, like batshit horror? Like, I'm like and I love anything nasty, disgusting, like blood. Guts,
Any
like,
movies that's like that are unserious. When they be doing too much with the graphics, I'm like, y'all can't be serious because y'all know this ridiculous.
I love it. It looks good though, okay? It wasn't like unserious to the point of like, what the like? Did y'all really thought like it was executed well? It looked really good.
okay, The Ritual versus Identity.
Oh. I'm gonna have to go with Identity on this one because that's one of those movies you really got to like watch and pay attention to. Like for people that actually like sit and actually have time to watch something really good, I'm gonna go with Identity on this one.
Tyra.
I really like The Ritual.
Mhm.
I really like The Ritual. Identities, it's cool, but once you see Identity and you get the twist, it's like, okay, it's kind of like the thing we just said with the others. It's not worth.
I'm always here for the twist.
Mhm.
I have rewatched The Ritual several times. I was like, whoa, this is different. You know, they love to send. I was gonna say them whites. Them whites, they love to go, camping in the woods and go off on a trip. And you just kind of know what to expect when they get there. But I never knew what direction The Ritual was taking. You didn't know what was real and what wasn't, and just the headspace that our main characters were in, and just the visual of it's in the end kind of turning into a creature feature, and we get this massive. I was like, what the like. I really enjoyed The Ritual, and it's something that I will probably rewatch again in the future. Identity, not so much.
Gigi.
I kind of the same. Like I love Identity and I still recommend it to people, but it doesn't have the same rewatchability factor The Ritual does. I love The Ritual. I think it takes like a pretty basic idea that a lot of horror movies do, but then turns it into something like so entertaining, so surprising. Like that scene with the creature at the end is so iconic. I love this movie so much. And then even just like the whole thing, like the friend like spoilers, but like the friend dying and like all these like little flashbacks and just like the guilt of it all. I thought they did such a good job with like throwing that little emotional factor into it. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
I call it the descent for the man. It's the man's descent for me. That's what
Exactly. That's so good.
Except nobody slept with nobody's wife.
No,
Well, they ain't come with the drama part. They ain't come with the drama.
Vacancy versus Wrong Turn. When traveling goes wrong, Kay.
Okay. Although these were both very good movies, and I like both, but I might have. I don't know why I watch so many Wrong Turn movies. I don't understand why. I'm gonna just give it the Wrong Turn because every time they came out with a ridiculous sequel, I watched it. Just because.
Tyra.
Oh, chow. I like No Vacancy. It's fun. And just the villain, the main guy in the office. He's funny. I like the No Vacancy for that. But The Wrong Turn, if you give me a slept with my third cousin twice, removed, inbreaded, like it's The Wrong Turn is fun too. It's very early 2000s, and surprisingly, I never got into the Wrong Turn franchise like that. I don't think I've seen any of the other ones. I don't think I've seen any of the other ones, but I don't know why this one's so hard. I'm gonna go with The Wrong Turn. I just love the aspect of some funky, hillbilly. It kind of reminded me a little bit of The Hills Have Eyes, and I love The Hills Have Eyes, and just that sick family, like we gonna like tie you up, ape your woman and do perverse things, and then we're gonna eat you because we're probably cannibals. I'm here for that.
Gigi.
This one is really hard because I love these movies so much. I don't think Vacancy gets enough like love or recognition too, like in the horror space. I love Wrong Turn. I'm the same. I haven't seen any of the other ones. I only saw like the most recent one and everybody hated that and I actually really liked it. But I love the whole creepy, I don't know, weird ancestral humans. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Vacancy. I think I just felt a lot more anxiety and, like, tension when watching it, and I think it also sparked I liked, like, the vibe of it being all like, oh, videotaped and stuff, so I have to go with Vacancy.
Yeah, I might be the only person on the planet who liked the Wrong Turn remake with you, Gigi. Everybody hated it.
I thought it was great.
Me too. I feel this, and everyone hated it. Hellraiser versus the Evil Dead, Tyra.
Oh, girl, Hellraiser. I don't even have to think about it. I know, and that's probably you need to go and get to them horror things that'll get you popped off, because the Evil Dead has never like been my thing all that much. Groovy and whatnot. I enjoy Evil Dead for what it is, but Hellraiser made me fall in love with body horror. Hellraiser is something I can go and rewatch that scene of Frank reanimating into a full It looks amazing every single time. I already spoke on my girl Julia. Terrible, awful lady. Awful some sex. Terrible woman. Terrible woman, awful Frank. But the iconic Jesus Wept, Come to Daddy, the Cenobites look really, really cool. And then we get into kind of the hell factor and kind of that essence of BDSM. They just look so different. And I still haven't seen, any collection of monsters that just have it's hard to get a villain that is iconic and has a really distinctive look. And Pinhead is that. Like he is very, very, very that. And Hellraiser is one of those, because you say like, oh, I don't like sequels. It's one of the ones where I love the sequel. I'll even get into the third one, or I stop at 3, but and that one's kind of pushing it too. But I love Hellraiser, and I will rewatch it as often as I can.
Gigi,
I have to go with Evil Dead. I just think I don't think that there is a bad Evil Dead movie, and this just again sparked a whole iconic franchise. And just what they were able to do with everything, I love the Evil Dead. Even though I do love the remake more than the original. I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't think it is, but I love the remake more than the original.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like horror fans be feeling like it's blasphemy to say any remake current movie is better than the 80s movie, but I agree with you. I loved Evil Dead. I've said on this channel before, it was one of the first horror movies I ever saw at like 3 years old. But I like it a lot less as an adult because, again, I don't care for the slapstick, the comedy, especially Evil Dead 2. I just really don't like that movie. But I definitely prefer the more serious, dark tone of the 2013 remake. What about you, Ken?
Yeah, Evil Dead, and I like the 2013 one too. They did good. That was a good remake. They did that one. They did that right. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Evil Dead on this one. Not that I have anything against Pinhead, who has one of the highest kill counts of all the horror icons, but I'm gonna go with Evil Dead.
That's from that club scene in the third one.
I guess it's just, man, Hellraiser. Yeah, I love Hellraiser. Oh my God. So that is the end of our horror versus game. And obviously I have the best opinion out of everyone.
Oh,
who said that?
I didn't even finish American Psycho or Hereditary.
Because I have taste.
Don't worry. She doesn't like the actual Psycho with Anthony Perkins. So
Wait, now don't slander my reputation. I ain't say I don't like it. I ain't never even seen it. Okay.
Same.
I have no desire to see it.
Same.
Why?
It has nothing against black and white horrors.
Yeah, if it's not The Blob, I don't want no black and white horror.
I love black and white horror.
Well, you and Nosferatu have a good evening. I can't. I don't go older than the 70s except for the Blob. But
Night of the Living Dead original.
oh wait, no, that
That's
one
the
too.
exception.
I love Night of the Living Dead original. I love that.
Terrible.
So if it's not the Blob or Night of the Living Dead, I don't want it if it's in black and white. But now it is time to get into our race and horror segment. We had our fun, and now we're gonna have something a little more serious. You know, we got y'all a little lubed up. We got you with the foreplay. Now we finna really get into it. Black people still fighting to survive in the horror genre. I recently did a live with Kay about horror tropes and ranking them, and someone said, oh, the trope that the black guy dies first doesn't exist anymore. And me and Kay were literally like, we're still dying. Like, there are movies from this year, last year, the previous year, Something in the Water, the only black character dies first. Abigail, the black character, he just dead. He ain't make no mark. Wasn't nobody. They were talking about Dan Stevens. Wasn't nobody even talking about that black man. Tyra, why do you think black people are still fighting to survive in the horror genre?
Sure, we fighting to survive, period. Like, not even just in the genre, but as an audience. I don't know why, but it's still a hard sector of people in the industry who create horror movies. They still don't feel like we're watching. They don't feel like we're watching, we're invested. So it's like, if we don't feel like you're watching or we're catering to you, if we're not even catering to you as an audience of, black people, then we're not even catering to you in the film. Like, this film isn't for or about you. It's for this particular people who we feel like are coming and, buying those tickets. And I just feel like as long as that stigma is there for us, we're always going to be, fighting to survive in the horror genre. And then the fact that we don't often get put in the lead often. It's normally, the side character or the supportive whatever. But most of the time, if you're the lead in the film, you're not going to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not going to die. But as long as we're, that one-off random character like the gentleman in Abigail, I have not seen Something in the Water, but just based off of that, I don't want to see it anyway. It's just you're there for the body count. You're there, to be killed off until we get to, maybe I'll find a girl on a cold day, which they should do more, our final guy. And that's just it. And just so often we're just not given those roles.
Yeah, we're still the expendable ones. And I think you made a good point about, and we had someone say that in our last horror panel, how people will still say, oh, black people aren't fans of horror. Like, they're not really the ones who show up for horror. Gigi, do you think the studios are disconnected with what the audience really wants? Like, they want to see black final girls and black lead characters and heroes? Or do you think that the audience really doesn't want to follow those characters, and that's why black people are still not surviving horror?
Oh sorry. My dog is freaks. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. She was like freaking out it's okay. You're okay. Hold on. Come back to me really quick. Hold on.
No problem. Kay?
I feel like this is a space that's gatekeeped a lot. And when there are gatekeepers in something, it's like, okay, well, y'all can be a part of it, but only like this. Like, we don't really want to see y'all like being the hero. I mean, if you're gonna survive, we need the white savior trope in there. Like, it's like, okay, if we throw y'all in there, but it's got to be our way. And if it's not the Hollywood way of putting black people in a horror movie, then it'll get like review bombed. Mm-hmm. And so nobody will see the good black horror movies because they get review bombed. And then when like these, big budget Hollywood horror movies, they like will sprinkle us in there and say, well, we put y'all in there under their conditions. And I think that's a problem, is that it's like it's acceptable, but only in the manner in which they would like for it to be.
Yeah, I agree. It's like if we show up where the sacrificial Negro trope, we have to sacrifice our life to save the white protagonist, or the magical Negro trope, the black best friend trope. It's like we show up in the way that they see us and want us in there. And it's just crazy to me how I've been watching horror since I was a kid, and I'm like, I'm almost 40. Like, why are we still not getting like prevalent lead black horror characters? It's really insane to me.
They want you to get to my magical Negro. They want you to get Doc in The Shining. Like Doc died for no reason in The Shining. It was just axed to the chest out of nowhere. It's like, why?
That made me mad so bad. Like, why the hell this man
didn't die in the book, but we made sure he died here for what? And that was, 1980 with The Shining, and then we'll come here and still do something like that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and especially it made me so mad in Abigail because I obviously going into the movie, I knew he wasn't finna live, but I was hoping he would at least fight his way through the movie to like have a long enough time into movie. Like, I mean, walking away from the movie, everyone is talking about Dan Stevens. Everyone is talking about the girl from Lisa Frankenstein, and rightfully so, they were great. But like, no one is talking about the black guy in there. And I also feel like that plays into why we don't get the opportunity for the roles, because now the casting directors, they're looking at Dan Stevens and they're looking at the other people in the movie that had a chance to really show some skill. First of all, he was just dead and gone. Didn't he die off camera?
He died with his back turned.
Like, he was military. He couldn't at least fight to like in his dying moments. He couldn't fight for his life.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, pose that question again to me. My dog is done freaking out.
No problem. Look, I have dogs. I get it completely. Do you think that the studios are like separate from the audience and knowing what the audience wants? Or do you think that the general horror audience just doesn't want or isn't open to the black characters being the leads and the final girls and the heroes of the story being the main protagonists that the story follows?
I think it's like film writers and directors, like, I think it's what they think the audience wants, or it's almost like have you ever been in a position where you're like higher ups and like they are, in charge of your area, and it's like they don't even know how to do this job. They've been so far removed from being like just your general consumer or like doing it like, on the field, that they've stopped understanding the craft like that much. And so I feel like that they think that the general audience isn't paying attention that much, or they just like don't think about it. And then kind of like to what you guys were saying, they don't put them in like lead roles. And so of course, like these accessory characters or these like secondary characters are going to be like killed off. But then it's like, put more like, my God, of course, sorry. These damn dogs. So it's like these black actors should be put in lead roles. Of course, you're not going to kill off the lead, just like that, what you were saying. So I think that they're just out of touch what the general audience wants. And, we want like the Dan Stevens or the Lisa Frankenstein, but in reality, no, like people get tired of seeing these like same generic characters over and over and over again, that there needs to be more diversity just among all genres.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just like, I feel like I agree. Like, I think they're out of touch. And even though, I'll be honest, being in the horror space, I do feel like it'd be a lot of racism. Like, people will say some crazy stuff, but I do think that if you come out with like Hereditary and it follows a black family, or The Descent and it follows a group of black female friends, I think audiences will show up for those movies in the same way. I don't know. Am I naive? Like, I think
I agree
for those stories.
No, I totally agree. And I was listening to an episode of Girl That's Scary, and they were saying the same thing about like Cabin Fever, where it's like sometimes like within writing, it's like they write like villainous characters, like they write these like insanely heinous racist lines, and I'm like, what was the point of having that in there? Like, why are these characters just like heinously racist, and you're writing these like insane lines to put in there? Like, it doesn't further the plot. Like, I don't know, it's just like, did you put that in there just to see it in your own movie. So it's, more so speaking for like Eli Roth, but yeah, I don't know.
And you know what? I be feeling like am I the only person that feels this way? I felt that way when I tried to watch one of those VHS movies. I cut it off. Like, there are no black characters, but the white guy says the N-word. I hate Cabin Fever because of that whole scene when the guy.
Yeah.
And I always feel that way. And I'm like, does nobody else, like, what is the point? Like, why are we saying? Or even when we have a movie, like I've said before, how The Walking Dead irked me because the black guy was named T-Dog and Merle had to be racist. Like, why do we have to throw in the racial conflict and the racist character and the tropey T-Dog name? And I'm like, is it just me? Is it just me? Like, but it's because the people, pulling the strings are white, and I guess that's their perspective. Like, oh, of course, this big black guy's name is going to be T-Dog, and of course, the white guy from the South is going to be racist. And I'm just like, it's really no need to even have it in the story. There are other conflicts, there are other quips you could use that has nothing to do with race.
No, but you see, that's
I ain't gonna hold you on that. Even though I'm glad the direction of The Walking Dead changed by season 2, which was my favorite. But look, I live in Georgia, and you gonna come. It ain't no way you gonna be in Georgia and not see some racism. So, and it was shot in Georgia. That just come with Georgia territory. They have to span it out, but you ain't gonna come to Georgia and not gonna get a little hint of racism. South.
We can say that with Georgia, but if we go somewhere with M. Night on the old beach, we're on the beach.
That was unnecessary. Right there.
Racism with Mid-South Sudan, and the way that older gentleman who was descending into dementia or whatever was happening with that, I don't remember, but he had his own little racial agitation with Mid-South Sudan. I was like, we're on a beach on an island.
That was too
much.
And nobody can tell me why the hell are you bringing a knife to the beach? You ain't got an apple to cut or nothing. Why do you have a knife on the MF beach? Oh my. I just feel like, I can kind of make a concession for Georgia, but at the same time, I just feel like I'm sick of seeing the same racist tropey. Like, is there no other conflict the characters could have with each other outside of race? Like, I feel like it's so weak and tired and like unimaginative of the writer. Like, okay, I have this black character. What do I do with them? Oh, I'll make someone racist. Like you can't think of anything else.
That's what happened. They ain't got enough black writers because they ain't got no ideas. Then instead of calling in somebody else, be like, well, I guess this is what we got. Let's roll with that.
It is because Rochelle. I'll tell people in a day. Rochelle was supposed to have a eating disorder, but since we're gonna give this role to Rachel True, she's black, we're gonna make it racism. I was like, what? One is not any lesser than the other. It could have stayed the same, but just because she was black, they felt like her uphill battle had to be racism.
I would have preferred if she had an actual family and life outside of the group, like everybody else did.
Everybody else had a mama.
If she had an eating disorder, like an eating disorder is real. Like have her struggle through that conflict as opposed to Rachel's little pews. What did that girl say?
Little puby hairs.
Like, why does her? And see, that's what I mean when I like. Why does her character's conflict have to be racial? No, every character had like a teenage girl, with Neve Campbell, it was her skin wanted to fit in. Everybody had their own little conflicts. Why did the black character's conflict have to be racist? Like, why did we have to take the story there?
I think it was because Veruca Balk's character, she already had the monopoly on being poor. They was like, okay, we got to make Rochelle obstacles. She can't be the poor black girl. We got to make her. It's got to be race. She already the poor white trash in the group.
They ain't show her mama
the black character could have been from her middle class, nice upper class family with an eating disorder.
Yeah,
that would have worked.
They said no, Nikki. They said no. Oh,
now y'all
Lord.
know that I said I'm done with film Twitter, but it be sucking me back in and just boiling my blood and messing up I'm trying to age gracefully, okay? So I gotta stay away from Twitter. But y'all know I always see these little posts on Twitter. The latest one I saw was, what table would you like to sit at? And my eyes gonna always say, where is the Negroes? But we got one little black person, which is Aaliyah. But when I really look like, and I will say, FYI, I do not think the person who made this just sat down and said, I'm going to exclude all the Negroes. I don't think that at all. But I think this speaks to the lack of diversity in the horror genre. Because for the most part, these are all pretty much villainous characters. Well, I don't think the Black Swan girl started off as a villain, but they're pretty much villainous characters, girls in horror movies, and nobody's Black. And of course, I always go up for Geraldine and Demon Knight and my girl from 28 Weeks Later that nobody seems to ever talk about. But Kay, why do you think we still have such a lack of diversity? Like, why don't we have our Black villainous characters and our Black final girls? And even the few that we do have, anytime I see a favorite final girls list, it never contains any of the few Black final girls we do have.
Because we're not making them, and so when you leave something in the hands of somebody else, they're not going to cater to you. They don't care. They're not going to do it. We got to start making some of this stuff and let them see. We can sit around at the table and be horror villains too. We got several of them in horror movies that are villains. Spell was a little off, but we had the lady from Spell. We had Ma. We got Red from Us. We got the little vampire girl, a zombie girl, girl in with all the gifts. Like we're out there. Candyman, and I won't say that one time. We out there. Like we could do these things because ain't nobody else gonna sit here and recall and remember the little Frankenstein from the angry Black girl and her monster. If we out here, but if we're not like portraying it or saying something, nobody is going to think that it's important enough because they're like, y'all ain't said nothing. Y'all ain't y'all ain't doing nothing. So they're gonna do it from their own perspective. And apparently Akasha is the only Black villain that they thought about ever in life and any horror movie that's been ever made ever.
Not ever been made ever. But and that's it's interesting that you mentioned the Black girl, the angry Black girl and her monster. I remember when that came out a few years ago and I covered it on my channel. I didn't see anybody outside of Black creators talking about that movie, and I'm like, I don't know. It just really, but then also I feel like how are the doors even open for Black directors, Black writers? Because they still will hit a roadblock. Like I always talk about recently, the Black woman whose book got turned into that movie, The Love Story, and it was supposed to be 2 Black characters, but the studio had them change it to white lead characters. So you still have a Black writer, but we're still lacking the representation in front of the camera. Does anybody else want to chime in on our lack of diversity in horror?
Well, why they ain't putting Lupita at the table? Lupita has not earned at the table by now. I feel like she should be there, and I love me some Akasha, but I hate that everybody I love me some Grace Jones and Vamps. Maybe that's just, one of those throwaway 80s movies, but I I love Grace Jones and Vamps. Beautiful vampire, until she isn't. Or just something like, I think we should celebrate because we don't get a lot. I will more so like Kelly Jo Minter has survived in everything that she was ever in, every horror. She survived, especially in the realm of Freddy. If you make it out of that alive, like you deserve an award. And he was Black. It was amazing. We're just not there enough. And I think what we do have, it's either not executed to the fullest of its capability to be something memorable. Because I know I watched I Love the Girl with All the Gifts.
Love that movie.
Yeah. And I did watch let me see, what did Kay call it? The angry Black girl and her monster. Mm-hmm. I can't digest the movie properly in a way that I want to because we're nitpicky. We're film critics at this point. You get nitpicky and it's just like, well, why does this have to be our horror? Why does our angry Black girl, and then we have to be in the hood? It's so hard in the hood, and our dad's on drugs, and I don't have a mom, and I'm like, it's tropes on top of tropes on top of tropes. So then I'm just like, I don't want to remember that one either, So just because we're not, put into these spaces in these rooms to have really great moments in horror and be memorable, the little things that we do have, they are forgettable and they're just not there. I think we need to have more people just which is, a lot to say, but if people aren't going the independent route to execute their own films their own way and get these things out there, it's not going to happen. If it has, we're here now. How long has horror been a thing? How long have we been, conducted a certain way in this genre? It's not going to happen. I think people are waiting for everybody thought when Jordan popped up, like, all right, we've arrived, Jordan Peele's here. And no, that's not
so
what
much hate. Yes, but
that
he
was
gets so much hate.
that was that. But at this point, like Jordan Peele and what he's been able to do with horror and with his Black characters is kind of like an anomaly. Like he's over there. And then it's just like, what now? You still have to, everybody isn't going to be Jordan. Everybody still has to collectively get together and figure out how to get their films funded and get what they want to see out there, because it's just not going to happen if you're relying on a studio. You're going to get denied every time, because if you bring it to them and you have, a really good script and it's a Black lead and, a Black final girl or final guy, or it's more so just a Black cast, in their mind, who's going to watch this? Who is this for? Like, they're not going to get it. So do it yourself.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, chiming in on that. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, like, I think a lot of movies with like Black writers and Black leads don't have the same funding. And so they have to go the independent route. So they don't have the same marketing as these big, blockbuster movies do. And then when I'm thinking of Nia DaCosta, like when she finally landed Candyman, and then it got so much backlash. And I think it was just because it is a part of just this iconic classic movie. I loved her Candyman. I liked it more than the original, but because it got so much criticism, they were just like, okay, then we're not going to give her another movie. Because even she was in talks of doing another movie, and somebody was like, oh, I'm actually really excited for this. And then people were like, oh, it might be given to Nia DaCosta. And then they were like, oh, okay, we're less excited. And I'm like, that's so unfair, because there are so many like white directors and filmmakers and writers that have great movies, but then they also have shit ones too. And you still give them, passes in movies, and like you still have faith in them. So why not the same? So I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because, and I forgot who I was talking to about this. It seems like, and like you said, like even with the Candyman remake, reimagining, I don't even know what they're calling it now, but I prefer how she went about it, because that was one thing that always annoyed me with the first one. Is like, first of all, Tony Todd is in there for a hop, skip, jump in a minute, and the movie follows a white protagonist, but and the few Black characters we get are in those projects. So I liked this approach, and just all around, I thought she did really well. But I remember that conversation when people were suddenly like, oh, well, if she's doing it, we're not excited. And I'm like, unfortunately, it's like that's a lot of the conversation that I come across in the horror space. Oh, if it's going to be this person that happens to be Black, oh, it's woke and we don't want it. And
exactly, because there will be no white savior. There will be no white person surviving in the end. When the Black person is the hero, when they make it to the end and they don't need anybody else to come and save them, then that's the criticism they get with they're too woke. Then it's too woke.
Yeah, I hate that word so much. I want everybody to throw that MFN word away. Like, serious. I feel like it like took on a whole nother, like it just spiraled, and I don't even want to hear any W words at this point. Like, I'm so over that word. But I'm like, and then the whole diversity thing for me also plays into like feeling like, well, this gonna be our DEI hire for the movie, and it's just, everything is just so outrageous now. But getting into our next topic, not everybody be going crazy about it's no creativity left in Hollywood. Everything's a remake, everything's a franchise, everything. It's like just a huge, huge topic. Now, I am not one who hates remakes, reimaginings, sequel. I don't even know what they're calling them now. Like, whatever they spinning off from the IPs and the franchises, I'm not against them. But I know one recent big remake is the Foreign Speak No Evil is getting the American remake when it just came out like a few years ago. But I personally do not feel like I agree with the whole it's remake crazy and there's no creativity. I feel like Hollywood has always remade stuff. I remember that block of time when they literally will remake Japanese and Korean horror movies like a few years later and remake them in America. So yes, it makes no sense to remake it a few years later, but Speak No Evil is not the first foreign film that we've remade a few years after the original. I think it was Post specifically, or maybe The Grudge that came out a few years after the original. And I recently had someone ask me what are my top 10 favorite horror movies, and literally most of them are remakes. The Blob, The Thing, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 2000s Hills Have Eyes. I would consider those some of my top horror movies of all time. They're all remakes. We have the new Switchboard remake coming, which is an 80s movie. And I think remakes can be a good thing. I love the idea of Witchboard, but they lost me after the first half. So I'm excited to see what new filmmakers can do with that idea and if they can execute it better. I also don't agree with remakes meaning there's no creativity. You can't tell me John Carpenter was not creative when he was doing The Thing. You can't tell me Alexandra Aja, however you say his name, was not creative when he remade Hills Have Eyes. I don't think that means no creativity. And it's also weird to me that on one hand, people will yell horror is back and at the same time say there's no creativity. Gigi, how do you feel? Do you think there's no creativity left in Hollywood and we need to leave the sequels, remakes, requels, reboots alone?
I actually do. I will always give like a remake or a sequel or a requel, whatever. I will always give them a chance because we do have the rare occasion where they do add more to the story or they have like a different spin, like the 2013 Evil Dead. Like I know a lot of people in the horror community prefer that over the original. And it took something and like iconic and it added its own new spin to it, added more to it, and while still like respecting the original. But I think so no, I don't think that creativity is dead. I think what a lot of people are doing though in Hollywood is just chasing that money and like carrying on a franchise far longer than it needs to be. Like with this Scream franchise, I'm like, we did not need this, like all of these movies. And by now we're just chasing money with them because nobody's really interested in watching it, but people are going to show up and they know that they will because we always do. And so they're like, well, may as well just pump this out to make money. So I think that's where it loses me because there's no passion in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like Scream should have ended after the trilogy. I love the original trilogy, and to hell with any Scream 3 slander. Tyra, do you think there's no creativity left in Hollywood? And we already know, but I'm going to ask her, for formalities. Do you think we need to leave the sequels alone?
First of all, y'all had me over here pausing. Y'all was giving the Candyman remake all this love. I didn't know y'all loved the Candyman remake so much. I had so many issues with that film. I was really surprised.
I didn't say love. It definitely has its issues, but I like the direction she went.
Wait, well, who said it was better than the original? Who said that?
I think that was Kay. Give her
Gigi,
that.
don't you ever say that again. Don't you ever say that again, Gigi. Absolutely not. Well, what was I at? Because I was like, what?
And I actually don't really care for the original Candyman. I saw that movie like twice as a kid, never rewatched it. I don't like that movie.
Wrong with we're on a different question. I feel like that once in a blue moon moment of people having passion to take a remake, like I see y'all mentioned The Evil Dead and John Carpenter's The Thing. Like, yeah, those were the times where somebody wanted to completely subvert everything, that we're going to do it better. We're going to execute it to a higher level and make you love the film. Nobody's doing that with remakes now. Nobody. I think for the past 10 years, anything that was a remake, sequel, it's just, I'm over it. I don't want those anymore. I feel like there is room for creativity because when I see original concepts like something, what did we talk about last time? I think it was When Evil Lurks. I just watched something the other day called The Passenger. That was like, I was like, oh my God, this is
with Kyle Gallner.
Kyle Gallner.
Yes, yeah. I was like, this is good. This is original. Hatching Anybody seen Hatching? Like,
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
right, like it's different. Like there's so many ways. Even something what was that? The thing I just Cobweb. Because I thought I
Oh,
knew
yeah.
kind of, you know, where Cobweb was going. You know, we got
Yeah.
Anthony
I think
Morgan.
everybody did.
We don't expect nothing good from Anthony Starr. Just based off the boys. Like he's evil. But that was just like, oh, I didn't know what direction. This is really interesting. This is different. Like there are so many ways, so many of the writers now, and you know, there is that sense of chasing money with the sequels, the prequels, and milking those nuns and those priests for everything that they're worth. Throw that away. But horror can be suspenseful. It can be the psychological route. It can be really quiet. It can be something just loud and bizarre. And you could have a you know, a movie monster, a creature feature, a slasher. Like there are so many levels to horror in different places that you can go with it, to where you should never need to remake or have a sequel, or what some things deserve a sequel, but a prequel and like you don't have to keep milking something. There's room to create something out of those little things I list over and over 10 times over. Like what was really different that I seen, and I was like, what the hell? The Neon Demon. I was like, I love these movies. I love when it's just something different, or something like The Invitation. There are just so many different notes you could hit with horror, to where there should be an abundance of creativity, but we aren't giving those people the budget. We are just trying to think about the dollar and make Scream 50. No.
I totally, I was going to say that too. It's like, it's all about what's coming out in like big theaters, even limited theaters. And nobody really looks for these like smaller independent films, which is like, these are where the real creative ideas are. But of course, nobody knows about them. They don't have a budget or a marketing team to push these movies. It's just like word of mouth.
No, it's not. I don't go to the theaters for horror. I rarely go and like, oh, this is what I rely on. Everything that's being released in mass in the audience to be trash. I totally do. I don't go to it. I'm looking on, you know, the interwhelmings of, because shout out to Tubi and all your horror collection. I love you for that, Tubi. Things like Shudder, just, you know, looking for just the gems of like, oh, this is different. And normally it's like, oh, this was really, really good. If they had the budget and they released this in theaters, they probably would have performed. But as far as what's coming out, I'm not going to see that mess. I'll catch it, you know, on my piracy.
And I feel, you know what? And I feel like that's maybe why I don't agree with the whole panic of there's no creativity left. I see so many movies in a year, and even the ones Tyra just mentioned, like they were all original ideas, all done really well this year, last year, the year before last. So even in the mix of the franchises and the remakes, like you said, we got When Evil Lurks. Like we got a lot of, in my opinion, great original horror movies that, yeah, they may not have been the big budget top 10 box office movies, but I feel like that's why I don't think creativity is dead. Creativity just may not be the top 10 at the box office, because it's going to be, you know, Mission Impossible or something. But I guess that's why I think we have a good balance. I think we have some good, like, up and coming. We were just talking about Late Night with the Devil. I wasn't crazy about that movie, but that was an original idea. Like we still have original stuff coming out. I don't think original outweigh it.
Late Night with the Devil. Oh, okay.
Shout out to baby, I don't want to say your name wrong.
It's Cassiana. Thank you,
Cassiana, for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you for the super chat.
I am very rich. 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 I am very rich.
Oh my goodness! Y'all send some more money. Spend some more money so she can play that again. So she can play them demonic smiles again. Thank y'all. Spend some more money, please. That's funny.
I'm rich, bitch. Kay, is there no creativity left? Now, Miss K, I know it's on creativity because I just saw this short film she did, baby. I was so engrossed. I was so sucked in her short film. I was like, this need to be a feature. But Kay, do you think there is no creativity left in Hollywood?
We need to look in the right places. Not that I mean, I'm a fan of some, some great sequels and remakes, but Shudder is doing wonderful things over there. Okay, let's look at some of these other streaming services. Shudder and Tubi, they got a lot of stuff going. Now, Netflix is a hit or miss, but Netflix will give you some good horror series now every now and then. They doing some good stuff. So I think that no, creativity is not dead. It hasn't left. We need to go look for it outside of what big budget Hollywood mass media is telling us. If you really need some horror gems, I mean, you got to look in the right places. The two that I love on Shudder, The Host and The Boy Behind the Door, amazing movies.
Black boy, little black boy and the boy behind the door. Yeah.
Those were some really good movies. And I'm like, why are we not talking about this stuff? So yeah, the creativity is in other outlets. It's there. Y'all just gotta look for it.
That's what I want, Kay. I want movies like that to get the push. Like if y'all can give Night Swim some money, y'all can give the boy behind the door some money.
Oh Lord, Night Swim. I couldn't do the boy behind the door though. It was too sad for me, but that was very well made. But my sentimentalities could not take nothing happening to them little boys.
It was a lot. It was some tension there, but that was a good movie.
Now, what was that Shudder film with is it called In 1984 or the night? It was something. It was like It's something called 1984, and it has some boys.
That's 85.
Summer of 85 or Summer of 80. Yeah.
That was so good. You know, me and my 80s. It was so good. It was so good.
That one's a good one.
And see, I think maybe is that why I don't buy into the whole there's no creativity, everything. I'm like, do y'all know how many movies are released every year just in horror? Like, there are tons of releases, low budget, independent, mainstream. Like, there's an abundance. And Gigi is crazy because she's doing watching every horror movie. I ain't watching every horror movie, not child.
It is torture.
But there are some good ones out there. I even came across a little Tubi original little gem that was actually really good. And we had a black girl lead in there. But I think it was like 2 Tubi originals that was pretty good, like Invasive and Low Lives or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Invasive is great. And she is a great black lead. She's also in some teenage Killer Body Count, and that's a religious movie, but it's like a religious kind of like a spin it on its head slasher, and I liked that one. She's also in that one.
Like, y'all just don't just look at Rotten Tomatoes and the top 10 box office. Like,
Tubi is honestly really good with diversity. I feel like amongst like just all ethnicities. Like, I'm Mexican and I rarely ever see like Mexican American leads. But with Tubi, I literally just watched one and I was like, oh, I feel seen.
You know what's interesting to me? I need everybody to go up for their people. Like, where are the Mexican leads? And like we had someone on our panel last time. She's what was she? Middle Eastern, I think it was. If y'all don't get out here and look, I'm gonna go up for the black folk because I am black and that's who I want to see. Look, if you Native American, like whatever it is you are and you want to see, like why are we just taking like we need to get these filmmakers out here and see what it is that we want to be portrayed on the screen. But going into our next segment, the horror opinions you would be stomped out in the streets, because y'all know them horror fans be going a little crazy, because the second I say that the 80s ain't the best era of horror, the second I say that Friday the 13th is one of the worst horror movies ever made and the least interesting franchise ever created, the second I say that I hate Cabin Fever, but I love Cabin Fever Patient Zero. That movie is disgusting and it is so good. But it's like blasphemy if I don't think the 80s was the best era, or the 70s, or what are some of the horror opinions you would be hated for, Gigi?
I honestly gotta agree with you. I think a lot of people too love and rate 70s and 80s films because they know that they like I think they feel like they should love them, but when you go back and rewatch them, like a lot of them are super drawn out. A lot of them are like over 2 hours with just a bunch of like lulls or nothingness in the middle. And so that's probably my take. I can't remember what I just watched, but it was an 80s movie and I was like, this is like borderline boring. But same thing with Friday the 13th. Like I try to watch that this last Friday the 13th, like rewatch it, and I was like, I actually think I hate this movie.
See, you know what? We see each other. We
Yeah.
see each other. I hate Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
And they use real animals in there, and I'm like, oh, that's awful.
Oh God, now see, I didn't know that. Now,
Yeah,
I'm
they like
Googling. Let's
actually
not-
killed like real like snakes in there, and I was like, that's sad.
Oh God, see, I didn't know that. Jesus. Oh, Miriam, she says the Scream Abigail girl, you mean Melissa Barrera, is Mexican. Now hold on now. I don't know if Melissa Barrera is Mexican. I know she Hispanic. Let's not call her Mexican. Let's not just call Spanish speaking people Mexican, because I don't think she's Mexican.
Yeah, I don't know if she's actually Mexican. I'm actually not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, I really don't think I'm 95% sure she's not Mexican. Like,
But then that's
okay. Well, if you know she Mexican, okay. I just don't want y'all calling every Spanish speaking person Mexican, because I know
Yeah.
people like they call every Asian person Chinese. Like, let's not do that. Like, we
Yeah.
don't know. So, okay, if you know she's Mexican, okay, I got you. So that's like 1 out of 100. But yeah, we have that representation with Melissa Barrera. Tyra, what are some of the horror? Oh, I'm sorry, Gigi, were you finished?
yeah, that was it.
Tyra, I just start running my mouth, y'all. I don't know what be happening. I just be talking because I love my voice. Tyra, what are some of the horror opinions you would be stomped out for? What they stomping you out for in the streets, girl?
First of all, the 80s and 70s horror slander is needs to stop, okay? I don't know why y'all gotta hate. Y'all gotta hate just because don't nobody go up for these recent them funky 2000s era. Y'all got some people there like, I don't even be hating on y'all like that. I just have a bias and I stay over there. Like the disrespect. Like, okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. That had just did something on my spirit. But as I said, I feel like the Saw franchise is just trash and it just should have stayed at the first Saw. Really don't care for the Saw franchise. Like, I would prefer Hostel over the Saw franchise.
Ew, not
Oh, that's
Hostel
rough.
2, but not
Oh.
I would go up, and I can't stand Eli, but I would
Yeah.
probably watch those Hostel movies before I ever go through the Saw franchise.
Tyra,
No,
you're watching Hostel 3 when they're in Vegas over Saw?
I would. I'm sorry. I would.
Get the boots ready. Get the boots ready. We stomping out
If
Tyra
we're
right
going
after
off of those first three, because you said you love the trilogy. I prefer them. Like, I just don't care. Like, oh God, I just don't like that franchise. M. Night Shyamalan, I think he is the most overrated thing walking. I can't stand. With him, I can take Unbreakable and The Sixth Sense and leave everything else on the ground. I just really don't care. I feel like he gets all this undeserved praise and his twist and I feel like he's overrated as hell. Yeah, and those, just get the possession horror out of my face. Always, dang, thank you. Get that possession horror out of my face. I cannot stand Antichrist. I think that should have started and ended with Rosemary's Baby. It was great there, and we should have left there with The Omen. I'm really sick of seeing dark haired, dark eyed, evil smirk at the camper children. I don't want to see that anymore. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it.
Public service announcement. I am severing all ties with Tyra. Kay, what are some horror opinions you would be hated for?
The horror genre, we have very, very small percentage of room for love. Okay, we don't have to stop every 5 minutes to get naked. We don't have to be all taking a bath and in the shower all the time. We ain't got to be getting it on all the time. We don't have to, but look, I am fighting for my life. I'm not trying to be over here getting it in, trying to get a few couple pumps in just because Mike Myers is outside. Get to the killing, okay? If I want to see that, I will cut on something on HBO or in that genre. I can put on a romantic comedy and I get everything I need. But if I'm here for the horror, bring on the monsters, bring on the slashing, bring on the massacre. I don't need to take time for us to have a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir. We can do all of that. And as much as I love looking at these nice, good-looking men like Usher in these movies, we got to leave these pop stars at these horror movies because y'all just be throwing them in there. They get 2 minutes of screen time. Do not tease me in the trailer. Like,
Yeah.
I will see
Who is that
somebody
girl that
fine in
sings
this
that's in that
movie,
scene?
and I cut on the movie, and he waved and walked away. Do not do that.
Halsey. Nikki, you're thinking of Halsey. She's in that scene.
Halsey.
Yeah.
I can't argue with you, Kate. Now, see, me and Kate still cool. Tyra got to get stomped out.
Why I gotta get stumped out? What I do? What I do that was so bad? It better not be for that funky Saw franchise.
Dane C, AMC on Shutter, Peace Tower, and the panel. Thank you so much, Dane C, for
Thank
the
you.
super chat.
Thank you.
Christopher M. Satchel, Hollywood Today is operated by Discovery. You mean the Discovery Channel? Now, Discovery, I think that's the people that got my ID channel and all my like true crime,
Mhm.
Amazon, etc. They're only concerned about profit at all costs. By the way, the Chucky series is fun to watch.
Hmm.
I don't think it's anything wrong with wanting profit. I feel like if you do a job, you want to get paid no matter what the job is. But I do think when you're talking about something that's like an art, there should be some type of passion, love. Like, yes, you want to make a profit, but it shouldn't just be a cash grab, in my opinion. But hey, I'm rich, bitch. We got super
I
chat.
am very rich. I 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 am very rich.
Ooh, wee, honey, what is this? Oh, y'all and that hatred for that ties back into them 80s and stuff. Like, sex and horror goes together. Like, I love some fornication in my horror movies. Like, yes, girl, whip the titties out and die immediately. Because why are you even naked? I love that. Like, I'm just gonna get naked and jump in the water. Like, we know a good gruesome death is coming as soon as somebody has sex or as soon as we see some boobs. Get it in before you die. I'm here for it. I personally.
We know Tyra always here for the boobs. She always here from. They always gonna be in her little video. You know she gonna have a little. Look, she here for it all day. The double D's, the C's, and we ain't gonna discriminate on the little B's and the A's either. Tyra, what do you want to see more of in horror?
I want to see good movies in horror. Okay, I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much. I want to see more stand the test of time. We're still talking about them 20 years later. Oh, that's a classic. So many horrors I've seen just this past year have been so forgettable. It's nothing I want to go back and rewatch. It's nothing I'm going to be like, oh, that score just sent chills down my spine. Oh, that was the best Final Girl I've seen in a long time. Oh, it's just all kind of run of the mill and forgettable or attached to a franchise. And I'm just not invested anyway because we've been with that franchise for so long, or whatever you guys are creating and putting out. It's just not good. I want a good, memorable horror like movie. I want a new creature. I want a new villain. I just want some new stuff. That's it.
Now, I thought I might have been broken or something because I'm like, this has been such a lackluster year for horror, in my opinion. I have not been like it's some stuff that I'm like, oh, that's straight. Oh, that was nice. Oh, that had some good elements. But I have not been like, oh wow, blown away by anything. And I thought it was me. I'm like, what is? I hope the last half of the year will be a lot brighter than the first half. But I'm glad to hear I'm not broken. Gigi, what do you want to see more of in horror?
I want to see more practical effects and less CGI. I couldn't be more excited that Fede Alvarez is doing all practical effects in the new Alien Romulus, because that, like, a movie can be so good, and then the second that they put in these like cheesy CGI, even if they have this giant budget, it just screams like laziness, because practical effects just take longer. And so I want to get back to that. That is one thing I will say about 70s and 80s. That's what they were working with. And there's nothing that can beat that practical effect era. It's flawless. Like, you know, like imagine The Thing with fucking CGI. Like it would not hit the
We
same.
saw it.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't watch that one. So I was like, no, I could do without that. So that's what I want to see more of.
Now, I will say I'm not a CGI hater. Even bad CGI, I'm gonna be honest, does not. I like The Thing prequel. I enjoy that movie. Now, do I think practical effects are superior and are best, and that's what I would like to see? Of course. And Fede Alvarez, let me tell you, child, I cannot wait to see that Alien movie. Oh my, I am like hype. I'm hyped to see that. Kay, what would you like to see more of in horror?
I need to be scared. I ain't been scared in a horror movie in a long time. It's been a while. I need people to make horror movies and remember what the genre is that they're making. Don't be out here keep making horror. And I get it, you know, everybody can't stomach the real terrifying movies, but at the end of the day, I need let's stay on task and on target here. I need the horror movies to spark some type of fear that when I see it, I'm gonna want to have to cut the lights on in every room in the house at that point. I need lights on after I watch the movie. I don't feel like people who are making horror movies these days are trying to scare us.
They're not, Kay, because they're trying to get the mass audience. And most horrors in theaters, they're like PG-13. Like, get that out of my face.
I want to be scared in a movie. That's what brought me to the horror genre in the first place, was that in some aspect I felt like there was an element of fear there. We're losing the element of fear.
Yeah, kill more kids, more mothers and the elderly. Because if you kill some kids and the elderly and mothers, that means we're cooking with grease. Kill more kids in horror. That would help. Do that for me, please. Do that.
You know what? I feel the opposite. I feel like they are going crazy nowadays. I remember there was a time when like you were safe in church or you knew kids. I feel like every time I turn on a movie, they're killing kids, they're terrorizing kids. They're doing that a lot. Like literally every time I turn around, they're killing the kid off or they're terrorizing a child. Like that's happening a lot.
I know. Did anybody watch The Coffee Table?
No,
that's what Paulie told us to watch. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's I don't mean to spoil it, but if you want to see them kill a kid.
But that's what I mean. It's like so many movies these days. I feel like they are killing kids and they're terrorizing. Like I'm seeing it a lot. And I used to be that person. Like,
but see, I get they got to make us care about them first.
I was about to say that. Like not just popping up kids
exactly.
just because.
We don't care about people.
Those old school movies where you just feel like a kid is so safe, or you feel like someone is just like, oh, they're definitely like, we're going to see this person through the end. And it's just like, oh my God, we don't know. I don't know what to expect now. They killed this person or this child. Nobody's safe. I need that sense of we don't know what's going to happen next. And normally I get that when they kill a kid, but I don't mean like kill all kids. I ain't mean that.
You basically want like for it to not be so predictable where you don't know what could happen or what's around the corner.
Yeah, and I don't want no more old people horror. Leave them old people alone. I'm so sick of them associating old people with horror, and you know,
always like a naked old person scene. I'm like, let's stop with that.
That ain't terrifying. That's just we don't. Nobody asked for that.
Yeah,
we didn't ask.
That's just disturbing.
What was that like? Exorcism of Deborah Lee?
The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Yes.
The
Visit. old
Oh.
people, old like
And they're
Pearl
old.
and X and them,
X.
just old, and we're gross because we're elderly. Like, okay, whatever.
Leave them alone.
I still just do not get the appeal of X. I do not like them. We literally spend the movie watching them film a movie. Like that's it.
That's
That's
what
all we're doing.
I'm with you on. I did not finish it. I didn't make it to the end.
Now
I
I will
finished
say the last like 5 minutes was nice. I like the visual when like there's blood on the headlight, so the scene turns red. Like, but the
Yeah.
whole movie, we're just watching them film a movie. Like that's it. That's all we're doing. Where's the horror? I just don't get it. But you know, I just be on the island by myself, hating everything. But but that is our KillerCon series for today. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here and being involved. And thank you so much to our audience for showing up, for being involved in the chat, liking the videos, whichever stream you're watching this on. Thank you so much. And now I am going to give each lady a chance to tell us where they're at, where we can find them, what they're doing. Tyra, what you got going on the Struggle TV?
why I gotta go first? You guys asked for it, and we are going to deliver. Do not miss Tuesday when we get together, just like we've been getting together all these past weeks to recap Interview with the Vampire Season 2. We are going back and we're going to do a retrospective for Season 1. Don't miss that because I think it's going to be great and funny, and we would love just for y'all to engage and just reflect on Season 1 with us. Of course, on Fridays, I am talking about The Boys, and be checking for some live movie reviews with YouTube moving the way that they're moving, with me releasing and posting videos, but being okay with these lives. I am going to do some movie reviews live, so be on the lookout for that, and just anything else I have going, teaming up with lovely YouTubers like Nikki. Back to you, King Nikki.
You know, Tyra is like my homegirl. We talk weekly, so I feel like it's like a comfort thing. My mind just goes to Tyra. So that's why she popped up there first. But thank you, Tyra. That answers my questions whether or not y'all gonna watch Maxine. I'm gonna watch Maxine. I didn't care for X. I like Pearl. Like it was fine. Step up from X. And I'm gonna watch Maxine. If it's horror, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna watch it. Now, am I gonna finish it? Is another story. Gigi, tell us where we can find you, what you have going on in the room for Scream.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Gigi. My online names are Room for Scream. I'm pretty much on every social. I'm like mostly active on TikTok. I'm doing a challenge where I'm watching every single horror movie of 2024. So I'm about 150 movies deep. And it's been a wild ride. So if you want some deep cuts, I got them for you. I also am on YouTube. I actually just started doing YouTube like 2 months ago, and it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, Twitter, Instagram. I also have a horror podcast with a bunch of other horror talkers called Dark Screen Society. So we've had a couple of like film directors and other like horror content creators guest on there. We just had the director for the upcoming Evil Dead movie on there, and it was awesome. So if you want to learn more about that, but that's me.
Thank you so much, Gigi. Where is that comment I just saw? Thank you so much, KB, for being a new sub. And make sure you guys go to all the ladies' links in the description and sub to everyone. And thank y'all for being active in this chat. Honestly, this live goes on for we were here 4 hours last week, and people were not happy. People got kids. Folks don't want to be here running their mouth with me all day, and we have a lot to cover. So I am so sorry that I cannot like get to all of you guys' comments, but I really appreciate it. And when the live was over last week, I went through and I read every single comment. I will do the same this time. I just don't, y'all know I ain't got no kids, okay? I ain't got no man. I do it whatever the hell I want to do with my day. So I could be here running my mouth for 4 hours, but I don't want to hold everybody else up. So I really appreciate you guys being active in the chat, even if I can't recognize your comment on screen. Miss K, Horror and Hooch Podcast, The Fifth Wall, the reviews, the books, the short films. Tell them what you doing, what you up to, and where they can find you.
Hey, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are The Fifth Wall. You will find a Horror and Hooch podcast. You will see some short films. You'll see some interviews. We do sci-fi. We do horror. Come and check us out. I just did a quick review for A Quiet Place, The Watchers, and Tarot. I have a quick review for Imaginary, Sting, Godzilla -1. Of course, I'm on there talking House of the Dragon, The Boys, X-Men 97, Evil, and please come on back on Tuesdays for Interview with the Vampire. We will be going live again. I have some reaction videos for Interview with the Vampire, and I am a Walking Dead fan, so whenever those spinoffs jump off, I'll be doing a little reviews for those too. But yeah, hit that subscribe button.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists, all of our lovely ladies. Who say women don't know they shit when it comes to horror? Who say women are fans of horror? Because you're not going to find women who are men or anybody that know more about horror than the four of us. Thank you so much. Ladies, please stay backstage. And everyone else, we are going to sign out. And thank y'all so much for showing up for this live.
Goodbye.